Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Brown?
I just want to say thank you so quickly getting those microphones, because I'm sure the folks can hear you now. You're not happy about that? Thanks.
And next is the code enforcement update. And- Yes.
Could you get in front of the
yeah.
microphone? I apologize. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council.
Hello, Officer
You don't look
Stokes.
like Bobby Dale.
Did he say miss? Oh. All right, I'm going to give you the code enforcement update in the absence of Sergeant Bobby Dale. I'll start with our watch log entries. We've entered 90 cases for grass, 45 cases for unsightliness, 52 cases for conditions for collections, 51 cases for business licenses.
51?
I'm sorry, 51 cases for vehicles. I apologize. Glasses are not what they used to be. 17 cases for business licenses, 3 animal complaints, 13 zoning cases, 6 dilapidated cases, and we had 7 complaints that we handled. So that's a total of 284. Plus, we removed 76 signs for August. And we wrote an additional 145 notices for front yard parking. So the total notices that the officers written in code enforcement is actually 429 notices. Out of that, we have 171 active investigations. 113 has complied. 3 citations were issued, and 3 are pending court. 11 properties were submitted to Administrator Brown and Attorney Hale as abandoned or vacant properties. We wrote 2 barking dog tickets issued to residents for ongoing issue. The same resident has already been to court this year. And the high grass ticket was issued to a resident who has had multiple violations. In addition, we have the brochures titled Common Violations. They were created to help educate the public on ordinances, the common ordinances. And I have some right here.
Yeah, I think Bob gave us some.
They're very good.
Thank you.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
You give him all the credit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell Sergeant Dale that.
I wonder if they're giving a report. Any questions from the council?
I'd like to know how many abandoned houses that you normally find
Okay, now,
in the course of a month.
now when you say abandoned houses, are you referring to just empty houses, or are you referring to houses that are abandoned and in violation?
Houses you can't find the owners of.
So that would be houses that are in violation that we can't find the owners of. You said within a month. It varies. It varies from month to month.
Do you have an average?
Maybe 2, 3. It just all depends.
How do you find them?
Well, first the house will be in violation. We'll go write it up. We'll do an abatement notice on it. And then we'll give it its waiting period, 10 days. After the 10 days, we determine that it's abandoned or nobody's living in it. Then what we do is we'll try to make contact with the owner. Sometimes it's a rental. We'll make contact with the property management company or either the landlord. And then a lot of times we can clear it out like that. Also, I use this tool called Compliance Connections, which is a site that for code enforcement and government officials, and I registered the town of Irmo as an entity to use it. And sometimes they'll do legwork for us. And it could take a week, it could take a month. But eventually we end up getting the problem resolved.
Do we pay for that service, Bob?
No, we do not.
We do not. It's a free service.
It's a free service.
Okay.
So to answer your question, it varies. It could be 2 houses, could be 3 houses, could be 1 house. I was looking at a list here. I think currently the only abandoned house so far that I know of that we may be working on is 200 Chopper White Road. And that one, I've been to the assessor's office at Lexington County and tried to locate some stuff. People have been out there now. There's a dumpster in the yard. They're clearing it up slowly but surely. But some of these cases I've been working on for a long time, but I check them every week for progress.
Excellent.
There's others, but 6 Castleville Road, I've made touch with the bank in Omaha, Nebraska, and spoke to them, and they are working on that now, boarding that house up, and doing everything they need to do to it. And 213 North Water Tower Drive, I think all the council is familiar.
Well, we sure do. I think everybody knows
Yeah,
that
we
property.
got it, yeah.
And I think that,
Got a response from him, from the owner.
You're kidding.
yes.
Oh,
That property's been abandoned for how long?
It's been a while, but it's been through some changes.
Yeah, it's gone through several owners in the last several years, and I talked to the guy today. He indicated that he was trying to get the property up to whatever standards. I told him I'd put him in contact with Bobby Dale, and I didn't know he wasn't in this week, so I'll put him in contact with him.
Excellent.
So I have his number. He's looking for somebody to call him and tell him exactly what he needs to have done.
good. Very
I
good.
can get that from him, make contact with him Friday.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Officer Stokes, if you wouldn't mind, you could put those in the back there so anyone who would want to take one of those,
We already did, right?
you did. Fantastic. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Next is consideration of communications. We have a presentation from Lake Murray Country, and I think Miriam, yeah.
Good evening, Mayor King and
Before you start, I got a question for council. Didn't we appoint a committee to basically hear all of these presentations and approve the amount to give to them?
For the 65%, but not for the 30 or 35 or
Yeah.
whatever this thing is. We have to do that one.
Okay, so did they go before the committee yet?
They don't for this amount of money. There's two funds. One is the 30%.
Right.
They have to come to us and we make that. The other one, they go to the tax
The
advisory.
committee, yeah.
But I thought the committee was handling all of this. I mean, I thought.
No, they just handle the 65% money, or 60, or whichever one it is.
Some places do, but by law it's not required. Only the 65% goes to the advisory committee.
So my question again is, have they gone in front of that committee yet? With this
No,
65%?
because the committee gets all their data and their packets in October, November timeframe. They review it, and then we normally have a meeting early January, which is what we did last year.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off, Miriam, but I just was
Thank you.
asking a question. Okay.
again, thank you for the opportunity to come before you for Capital City Lake Murray Country and for your consideration of funding in the past. I would like to add a footnote to that conversation. For regional tourism organizations or anyone doing marketing and anyone operating a business, we all know that it's so important to do a one-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. And it's really important in tourism marketing to do so. We receive funding from 9 different governments. And all of our governmental funding that we receive, we are considered on a July 1 fiscal year. I believe the town is a July 1 fiscal year. So I guess my point I'm trying to make is that if we could get it all together at once, your dollars are going to be spent better, wiser, and go for some potentially real wonderful things instead of having some decided and then later decided. All the other governments that we operate under, our applications are done in the spring before the July. And once we get into the July-August cycle, we know what our funding is from any one entity. So that helps us lay down a budget better. It's just a suggestion and just trying to bring into fray how the other entities that we operate under have done it. We'll accept dollars whenever we can get them, though. I'll add that footnote. We've had a very successful year. This past fiscal year, I've given an annual report on our tourism stats, basically an overview of some of the wonderful things we've been doing. Last year, we spent around $660,000. We still are on marketing and tourism promotion. We had over 195 million media impressions. If you're in marketing and you had any idea as to what it would take per dollar to get media impressions all across the United States like we're doing, you're getting a great bang for the buck. This past year, we lured, and it's very exciting for us to be able to share that with you tonight, a television show to this region. Major League Fishing is out there on Outdoor Channel. It is the #1 rated Nielsen-rated sports show on the Outdoor Channel. And they brought their star fishing folks to Lake Murray this past June. Lizard Stickett got a great benefit from it, $7,000 in catering, not to mention some of the other hotels and community services that were part of it, from everything from having to rent generators to keep electricity going, et cetera. But the bottom line is this region will be on the Outdoor Channel for 36 hours starting and coming up in March. It is very familiar with, I'm sure, all these reality TV shows, The Voice, America's Got Talent. This is the fishing industry's answer to that. So you're actually following the top bass fishermen as they're competing, and it was all filmed on Lake Murray. They did come by and do a community segment. We filmed down here at the Irmo Park. We filmed out at the Lake Murray Visitor Center. And so there will be a community segment in every one of those 36 hours to promote what we've got in our community. I would like to thank Carrie Powers and the Irmo Chamber, also the Lexington County Chamber of Commerce by assisting our organization for the solar eclipse. So glad solar eclipse has come. What a blessing, what an experience, what an emotional moment for me. I don't know if y'all got to see it, but the story doesn't stop with the solar eclipse. We were busy that day out on the lake, and we had Seasons Magazine. It's a very large publication out of Atlanta. Has a $2 million distributor readership. They came and they're writing a 4-page spread on the lake and this community and their experience from the solar eclipse. They visited several area restaurants. Don't really want to name them because I don't know which ones will be entered into the magazine article, which will come out in the fall. That magazine is also the publication in all the Delta Sky Club at all your airports. So it has a great following. We had 120 events. I served on the Total Eclipse Weekend Committee. Of course, our organization did the solar eclipse at the lake. But what the town of Irmo received from that is we used our marketing dollars and our partnership with the Department of Tourism and our billboard inventory that we had in North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia, and we promoted Solar 17 at Lake Murray on those boards. We did include the town of Irmo's logo, And so we're really trying to spread our wings and spread the word about this area. Of course, every time we talk about our marketing plan, keep in mind that we are trying to market in a 750-mile radius of our 4 counties that we promote and all the towns, as the town of Irmo, Chapin, et cetera, in between. We are going to be hosting the International Federation of Black Bass Anglers. I do have my application for the Irmo Park. We will be having their awards ceremony barbecue in the new Irmo Community Park, and have not set a date on that. The gentleman that plans that had a massive heart attack and is recovered, and so we've had to back up and punt and move our date back, but it will be happening by the spring of 2018. We have just completed the update of the 4-county and town of Irmo's in their visitors map that goes out in all of our state welcome centers. Our visitor guide, we've upped that to an 80-plus page magazine, and that also serves in the state welcome centers. We are currently undergoing a massive new website. If you sit down and printed out our website page per page, if you went on every little page of information there was, it's 3,200 pages of information. All of Irmo is represented within those pages. We are just giving it a new look. We have subscribed to ARES, which is a hotel booking service. This will be able to provide us the opportunity to feed back to you the economic impact of tourism, because it actually shows us rooms booked through our website. We did it with the Forestwood Cup, which we also just completed. My August was a busy month. 68,000 people plus, 68,315 came here during that 7-day period for the Forestwood Cup from all over the world. And in fact, we actually had a delegation of 24 international visitors from South Korea, as one of the fishing participants in the event was from South Korea. Unfortunately for him, he only caught a 1-pound bass. And the total weight that went away was 59.8 ounces, I believe, almost 60 pounds of bass fish in 3 days. Y'all, we set records from the Forestwood Cup. We have so much to be proud of, because we had the eyes of the nation on us with that event. You're going to see it come back tenfold in the national media that's getting ready to happen as a result of that event. And the eyes are on us of what happened with the record bass that were caught and the record attendance that we had. So that event was a 4-day, and we took it down to a 3-day. There's so much we do for Irmo. We're getting ready to celebrate our 30th July 4th celebration coming up this year. I guess that means 30 minutes worth of fireworks on Lake Murray. So we've got to get busy and raise money for that. Proud to say that our organization does a Taste of Lake Murray. The dollars we use or raised that night, last year it was $95. Then we got another $6,000 in private donations. That's the money we use for fireworks. We don't pull it out of any of the funding that we get from any of our governmental bodies. So if we raise $15,000 at Taste of Lake Murray, I guess we'll have a $15,000 show. I could go on and on all night, but we have quite a tough agenda coming this year. We had an August of, when you jump from one national event 1 week into the solar eclipse, which, by the way, at Lake Murray Dam, just so you know, the Irmo side didn't have the traffic we would have liked. SC&G kind of closed the gate on us on that side because it is a boat launch area. But the Lexington side had well over 5,000 people. And we were out filming. I went to Sandy Beach, went over to Jim Spence Island. We were at Lake Murray Marina. I've got some beautiful drone photography of Lake Murray. If y'all need that for your website, Bob, or anything from the town, y'all let us know. We paid 3 different drone photographers to cover the whole 4-county area for the solar eclipse, for the total eclipse weekend. I serve on that committee, and we're going to be spitting back or sharing back all the economic impact and stats from that later on. But I don't want to jump the gun to release anything on that quite yet. We are requesting the 30% money and want to put it to good use with continuing our street banners out on Lake Murray Boulevard, and to come up with anything else creative or suggestions from the committee, from the council, we'd love to hear. So are there any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have some questions. What are the municipalities that you're getting money from?
We get money from the Department of Tourism, from Richland County.
Can I ask?
Richland County A-Tax and H-Tax.
Can I ask how much money you get from each?
Certainly. From the Department of Tourism, we get $225,000. From the Department of Tourism, we get $98,000 in marketing. From Richland County, we got $100,000 from accommodations, $61,000 from H-Tax. From Lexington County, we get 30%. Approximation of a 30% for them is $105,000. That's an approximation because that's based on how tourism works. City of Columbia, we got $290,000. We receive a percentage, 15%, of the monies that if we increase the accommodations revenues from the city, we get 15% of that increase. That could equate, one year it was $80,000. This year, we don't know yet. The numbers are still coming in.
Last year it was 80,000.
Last year it was 40-some thousand, about 42,000. We get from Newberry around 7,000. That's an estimate. From Saluda County, we get between 2,000 and 4,000. Saluda County just lost
24,000, did you say?
2,000 to 4,000.
2 to
Saluda County does not have a hotel. Okay, so it's kind of tough there.
Okay.
Town of Lexington, 5,000. I'm trying to think who I've left out. Somebody. Doing off the top of my head.
Chapin?
We haven't applied from the town of Chapin. There again.
I think you gave me all. I counted 9.
Thank you. Better than I thought it was tonight.
All right. In your, in the magazines and the brochure, how often is Irmo mentioned?
As often as we can. We can't mention a restaurant that doesn't exist. We can't mention a hotel that doesn't exist. If it's a tourism entity, if it's a tourism service organization business, we're in the tourism business. We're communicating with potential visitors. So that, you're going to tell the potential visitor what they're looking for. And we list them. The restaurants, if it's a Saluda Shoals Park.
I would be interested to know.
I provided that last year. I believe I highlighted the numbers.
I would like to know in your current brochures how often Irmo is mentioned.
Okay, I can highlight it for you and give that
Great.
to you this week.
That'd be perfect. Now, you had mentioned in the spring is when you normally get most of your money.
It's when we're applying. We're going through the application process.
In the spring.
In the spring.
When do you normally get your money?
July.
July. So we're pretty late in giving it to you.
We know our organization votes on our budget with our board June 30th. And we pretty much know, in fact, we knew this year all of it, except Irmo.
So you're designing your marketing probably in the summer, right?
Right. But let me give you a great example. We have an opportunity to get involved in the U.S. Bass Olympics that's going to take place in 2020. And we, have opportunities to get involved in something that's going to take place in 2019. And, when you're having to go and get your funding, we pretty much know a comfort level with some of our other municipalities, you know, because they've seen our track record and they've seen our history. And, you know, it's not to say that, you know, we can count on the fact that we're going to get X amount of money every year. You still got to prove, and it's audited, and you have to prove what you're doing. But at the same time, you know, it's to have some kind of a comfort that you can count on, you know, that's where we're coming from.
I want to get back to when you're designing your marketing. Your marketing
We do our marketing plan
is
in
being
August.
designed in the summer, even before you know how much money you're getting from Irmo. Am I wrong?
Well, hear me out. I've got to write a marketing plan so that I can fill out my application for Richland County, Lexington County, City of Columbia in February. So what we do is we write a marketing plan. We request the funds. We get our letters of acceptance or, you know, confirmation. And let's just say our marketing plan last year was $800,000, but we only got $650,000. Then what do we have to do? So we got to go back to that marketing plan, reevaluate, cut it out.
Understood.
So that's
And when do you get your letters of confirmation?
as early as April, May, and then June.
Normally April, May?
They begin in April, and then in May and June.
So
It depends on the entity.
getting back, you're really designing what you're doing in the summer. April, May, you know you're getting letters of confirmation, so you can plan on your budget. And really, this money that we're talking about tonight is really at the end. You can't plan on what you're going to get from Irmo.
Right.
So therefore, you might not even include us in your marketing.
Sir, we are mandated by the legislature to promote this four-county region for tourism. We have only received money from the town of Irmo one time this past year, or two times, 2 checks. We've been doing our job promoting Irmo for 30-some years. We're not basing it on the fact whether you give us money or not. We're mandated to promote you.
Thank
We're
you.
going to do it.
All right, Miriam, thank you.
It's your address, too.
Our Irmo is on our mailing address, on my business cards, everywhere I go in the world. I'm from Irmo, and they go, "Where's that?" In the jewel of South Carolina.
Any other questions? The question I want to ask, and I know we've talked about this some, but the one page we have shows that in fiscal year 16-17, we gave $12,634. But I do not have a good understanding with all this information how that $12,634 was spent. I see how everything y'all got was spent, but I don't see how the $12,634 was spent promoting Irmo. And I'm wondering why y'all can't break that down for the town, showing how you spent our money as opposed to how you spent y'all's money, so to speak. I don't know if you follow me.
I believe I forwarded that to the county to Bob. Did I not, Bob? That report?
I'm sorry.
Didn't I send you a report on how we spent the 12 invoices and canceled checks?
You did.
Thank you.
But I haven't seen anything that shows how the $12,000 was spent promoting our town.
No, it wasn't broken down like that.
Oh, okay.
It was just how you spent the $12,000 along with all the other monies.
All right. But in the future, is there a way to show that out of whatever money we give you, 500 went to this, 1,000 went to that?
Well, you know, I put a billboard out there on the interstate. That cost $2,100 a month. Had your logo on it, and I sent the billboard, the bill that shows the town of Irmo was on it loud and clear for the solar eclipse. We provided a year and 2 months worth of advertising on the solar eclipse. So reality is if you multiply $2,100 a month times 14 months.
But that promotes the area.
But that's just one thing.
But that doesn't promote the town. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do you promote our town?
Everybody that gets off the Lake Murray Boulevard exit and comes to the Lake Murray Visitor Center, where are they coming from? Where are they going through? The town of Irmo.
Right.
You know, I know you had asked us to put the town of Irmo on all our magazine ads. That would be impossible to do. We are the regional tourism organization promoting this tourism region.
Promoting Lake Murray.
Right,
That's what you're promoting.
right.
You're not promoting Irmo.
Well, I beg to differ.
You got to understand, Miriam, what we have to do as a council, selfishly, is see how much of this money is promoting Irmo.
Okay.
We don't want people just to drive through Irmo. We want people to stop in Irmo.
And spend the night
see
in
what
Irmo.
we have, exactly.
Well, I'm putting them over there in that hotel. The South Carolina State Welcome Center folks stayed in your hotel. I have had media writers staying in that hotel. We work very closely with Andy over at that hotel. We spread them in all the hotels over here in the Harbison area. But they're over here eating in the bistro on the boulevard. That is in the town of Irmo. You know, you're dealing with a technicality in what you're saying, because it's the overall. So if we're going to deal with that same mentality when I'm in Lexington, they have never questioned, why aren't y'all promoting Lexington? They see how we're promoting Lexington. It's obvious in our visitor guide. It is obvious in our television ads how we're promoting all of the entities, all of our towns, and the attractions and the festivals. We're spending money on Facebook promoting the Irmo Strut. Last year, we bought the signs for the Irmo Strut. We didn't this year, quite frankly, because August was just the nightmare of all nightmares when we had the Forest Wood Cup and the solar eclipse to promote. So hopefully that explains it a little better.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have the Irmo Chamber, Carrie.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Aye.
members of council. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening. To recap what we did last year, it was the first year that we had received funds from the town of Irmo, and we used the Convention and Visitors Bureau program, the partnership program that they have in place. It just seemed to suit us better considering our very limited resources, human resources that we have in our chamber. And so I worked with Kelsey Carmichael there to develop the marketing plan that Mayor King and Bob and I discussed last year. And I believe I was able to successfully show that we had spent those dollars exactly the way in the guidelines that we were supposed to spend them within. And this year, I've asked Kelsey again to put together the program that you guys have in front of you. And it, we're a small chamber. We're 400 members, and all we do is really promote Irmo and promote the Irmo community. So we don't step outside of that. We are definitely happy to help Miriam anytime she asks us to help, but we're just a small arm of that. So what we've put together, I asked her to include a few extra things this year. We had some great response on social media. For the Okra Strut last year, along with the two events that we do in the park. We do the Red, White, and Blues Wine Walk, which our attendance almost doubled this year, and I think a lot of that had to do with our ad in Southern Living that we ran back in the spring, back in April. But we also had the CVB put together the Irmo website, which basically lists all of the hotels, lists all of the amenities, the parks, the attractions, and the restaurants in the town of Irmo and sort of the surrounding area that draws people here. So we were able to have that in place and get hits through that. We were able to promote that on our own website. And then also, this year for Red, White, and Blues, I asked her to put together some digital billboards. So we've got one that's scheduled in downtown Greenville and one that's scheduled in Augusta to help draw folks in from that. That event continues to grow. I hope it grows big enough that we have to move to the big park instead of being across the street at the smaller park. So I anticipate that will continue. In a nutshell, we're happy to continue to promote these events to bring folks into town. And as you see, we've laid all this out. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer any of those.
It's not a question, but Southern Living,
Yes.
that was smart.
And the travel planner.
Yes,
And it was
yes.
it was great. It was a great ad, and I immediately saw ticket sales increase almost immediately as that started hitting people's mailboxes.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that again this year.
I don't think I'm the only one that subscribes.
Yeah.
Quite a number.
I think they have a pretty good subscription base. Yes.
And this one is for this coming year.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
one is, hey.
The one I sent you was the recap of what we did last year.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And obviously, this is hopefully starting very soon. Kelsey, has said that we could go ahead and start promoting Ochre Strut. I've already talked to the Ochre Strut Commission folks, and they can give us artwork for it. So it'll just be an additional arm to help promote that event. We have a cornhole tournament coming up the week before the Ochre Strut over here in Irmo Town Park, and so I'm hoping that everybody will be excited about that entire week.
How many people do you expect to get on the cornhole?
I don't know. You have to start small, and you have to have baby steps. But nobody's doing
you're
that
promoting
around here.
the town. I think
So
it's great.
I don't know what to expect, but we have already maxed out our teams, and we've had to add another bracket of teams. And
Wow.
so, at the very least, I think we're probably going to have 16 teams playing.
Wow.
Shaw Industries
cool.
put 4 teams in, and Mungo Homes put 5 teams in. So, it's a lot of folks from the community are excited
awesome.
about that. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's different. It's just something
awesome.
different. Yeah.
On your website,
Yes.
do you have a link to the town website?
Yes, we do. In our relocation page, we have a link to the town and all of the police department, the fire department, everything that you would need to know if you were going to be coming in and visiting us.
All right. Thank you.
And I want, not ask you, but I wanted to ask Bob, the reason we do this now instead of in the spring is we don't get the money until,
We just got the final payment last week.
so we're doing it as soon as we know how much money we got.
Right, because what the county does, they send out a letter and says, thank you, we've got yours and we're gonna consider you. But they, like Miriam said, they don't know until July, August, September exactly how much money they're giving. At least this way, when we do it, we can tell them exactly how much we're gonna give.
Okay. So they're not getting their money any earlier, they just anticipating based on history, how much they're
I
gonna
mean, we
get.
can change the process. I mean, nothing says, we can't have our tax advisory committee meet now because we've got all the money in. And they can award them like into September, early October. There's nothing said we can't do that. Just seemed easier to delve the money out once we knew exactly what we were getting
Right.
out.
I agree.
How much we get again? How much we
Well,
spend?
the 30%'s about 12,000, and 65%'s gonna be close to 45,000. So,
Okay. Any questions of Carrie?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. I
And it'll be
Thanks,
next
Gary.
meeting in September when we make the final decision? Is that,
I'm gonna get with Andy Briggs, and we're gonna maybe streamline it, doing both at the same time.
well, I'm talking about this money here, the 30, so we'll have that on our agenda. So they could be meeting in the meantime,
Correct.
and then
That's what I'm saying.
we could
Might get it all.
allocate it all. Oh, okay.
Make it easier.
Hardy, I'm not sure the public understands what we're talking about here.
Where the money's coming from.
Right.
Well, let me kind of get a short, I'm not 100%, but we have one hotel in the town of Irmo. And anybody that stays in that hotel pays a hotel tax, bed tax, pillow tax, whatever you want to call it. And that money goes to the state, and they collect it all, and then they send us a quarterly check. Is that correct? And then at the end of the year, whatever, end of their fiscal year, June 30th, they send us the final check based on the hotel. Believe it or not, and that could change because that hotel used to stay pretty full because of the people from the place, the nuclear plant. It's an extended stay, so a lot of people stayed in that hotel for months. They were, I think at one time they said 85% occupied.
Yeah.
That could change. But that one hotel has created about $60,000 in taxes to the town. I don't know how much money they create altogether, but evidently a lot of money to get $60,000 for the.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, for one hotel, I would have never thought we'd got over 25,000. But we get 60,000 from that tax that comes to us, and we have to spend it in certain ways. It's accommodations money. It has to be spent on things that supposedly bring people into town and make them stay at the hotel or get them to stay at the hotel, or hopefully they stay at the hotel. They have a
Use
different.
the restaurants or anything.
Well, this accommodations is supposed to be for hotel. It's all designed to make people spend the night in a hotel, or should be. Of course, you don't really know and you can't really tell. And they have a definition, actually 2 or 3 or 4, depending on who you ask, as to what a tourist is and whether they qualify. And that's a whole gamut. But once that money comes to the town, 30% of that money, or is it 25?
Well, the first 25,000 comes to us all.
Yeah, the first 25,000 of that money, whatever it is, comes to the town. Then the next 5% of that money comes to the town. 30% comes in this kitty, and it has to go to a, what's the term? A regional
Regional Tourism Board or
Regional-
Chamber of Commerce.
or chamber. So
Good
it's
girl.
designated into 2 people can get it, basically, and that's it. And then the other 60%, or is that 65? 65% of the money, if we get over X amount of dollars, we have to form a tax advisory committee, and they get to decide, they get to recommend. They don't get to decide, they get to recommend where that money goes. And then it comes to us, and then we approve it or not, or change it, or throw it out the door and do whatever we want to. But they have to make a recommendation, and basically what they think will bring people into the town and spend the night in our hotel. Because that's what the people are collecting it for, is to make more people come to Irmo and spend the night in the hotel. The hospitality tax, which we don't have, is designed to get people to come eat in the restaurants. But the accommodations hopefully gets people to come here and spend the night for whatever reason, Okra Strut or other events or other things. And this is the 30% money that we're trying to decide who gets it, how much, and all that good stuff. And then the other 60% goes to that committee, and they make a recommendation, and then it comes to us, and we approve it, or change it, or amend it, or agree, or whatever we do. So that kind of maybe explains it to some degree. And we have a lot of, I wish it was under 25,000, and then we could just,
Do
it's a
what
lot
we-
of money
yeah.
for one hotel. Now, it may be less next year with all, I don't know.
Yeah, very well
I
could.
don't know. I'm surprised we get that much money from one hotel, but we do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're getting another hotel too, don't forget.
There's a couple others that may be
Where?
kind of in the area.
On the left,
That's not us.
that's in the town of Irmo.
Next is,
Traffic lighted, it's this side.
consideration communications.
Right.
I was going to let Whit Klein come up. There's a summer celebratory, where did Whit go? Oh,
Because their sign doesn't start till way down the road.
Mr. Mayor and council and everybody here, we've got the 8th annual Summer Celebration of Water. This is what the town does to promote stormwater awareness. We promote stormwater safety, stormwater, talk about illicit discharges, and just education to the general public. And we have this down at the Riverfront Park in Columbia, in conjunction with the City of Columbia, Richland County, Lexington County, and other local municipalities. So it's going to be September 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's a free event to the public.
Good.
And it was where?
Riverfront Park.
Riverfront, yeah.
That's down by the old prison.
Yeah.
Where it used to be.
Oh, okay. I know where you mean.
The
Wait.
canal thing.
Speaking of water, do we have a storm plan for, in case Irma decides to come visit Irmo?
I was thinking the same thing.
We will, we'll use the plan last time we had a flood. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll use the same plan. So
So we do have some kind of
We've got a
emergency
plan ready,
preparedness
correct.
plan?
Yep.
Wait,
Thank you.
do you know, does Irmo have a designated emergency shelter?
Generally, it's at the middle school,
The middle school? Okay.
but you got to get them to open it.
I figured it was a school. I just didn't know which one, so.
Yep.
Okay.
If they won't open it, we'll probably get the church to open it again.
Okay.
The church is a high mark, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't there
Church ain't gonna flood out.
a state one somewhere out beyond Casey or? I'll find out because there's something like that.
They'll let everybody know.
Okay. You're right. Thank you.
And I wanted to let y'all know this magazine called South Carolina Biz, and this is the spring 2017 magazine. You can go online to www.scbizmag.com. They have an article in there about the recycling. Recycling means dollars, study says. There's one paragraph in there, though, that I wanted to, one sentence. It says the price peaked at $146 per ton, and this is for South Carolina, in 2011, and dropped to $52 per ton in 2016.
Wow.
As a result, recycling was $28 per ton cheaper than landfilling in 2011, but was $9 per ton more expensive in 2016. The cost of private sector landfilling, which is what Richland County has with waste management, that's a private sector place, is often 20 to 30% less than the cost of a public sector landfill, which most people around here don't. They use that one there. And the only reason I wanted to bring that up is there's always a lot of discussion going on about the recycling and the glass and everything else. But one of the reasons Sunoco has quit, well, I don't say they quit taking glass. You can still dump glass. They just charge you for everything you dump there because they got to sort it out. And then they take it to the landfill themselves. And that's partly why they charge it, because they're
Hauling it.
they're hauling it, they're processing it, and then they're coming around and hauling it to the landfill. It's just no money in it for them. Now, there may be in some places in the United States where they got a recycling plant for glass, and they get all the glass from a 2-mile, 10-mile radius, and that's all they need.
Yeah.
But transporting it today has just not become economical, and so a lot of places are just throwing it away.
It's sad.
Or
Sad.
just asking not to get it because it's
Yeah.
just not a demand here for it. The plastic and the cardboard and all the other stuff it is, but there's so much recycling going on that there's actually a glut, and now it's costing money to process it instead of saving money.
Can you
But-
still take bottles to the grocery store?
I don't think so.
You remember we used to do that?
Oh, I remember doing that.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
wondered
'cause
if
a
they
lot of the
still took the
places,
bottles.
they don't need it, they don't want it, and it's a.
I'm gonna ask
cost
Kroger if they do it.
Did you have deposits on your bottles?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
That's how I used to buy penny candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baseball cards.
I'm gonna ask if they do. I have no idea.
Any more communications? Seeing none, next is presentation by citizens for things on the agenda. All we asked is you give us your name and address for the record, and I think there were some sign-up sheets, is that correct? Did anybody sign up? Maybe they didn't, I don't know.
There was some comments about people giving their addresses, when they come up to speak. Was that a policy that we put in place, or is that just something for?
Well, our ordinance allows citizens to speak, and the only way you can really know if they're a citizen or not is by getting their address. Otherwise, you don't know. Oh, okay. And we allow citizens to speak first, and then if It's business owners next, and then
Yeah.
property owners next, and then anybody else next, as long as nobody objects.
So you don't have to give your address if you want to.
Well,
How you
they
gonna,
wouldn't be a
No,
citizen.
we would require that they
Yeah.
have.
There's no way of
Well,
nothing.
I'm just saying, you're saying, I'm not arguing about the address. I'm saying some people are asking, they feel nowadays with all this live streaming and everything, they can get up here and say, hey, I'm Mr. Barry Walker from 902 Chatley's Court. Oh, well, he's at a meeting right now. I can go rob his house during the meeting.
Well-
Meetings are quite lengthy.
If they want to give us a driver's license or something maybe, or a voter registration card or I don't know what else it'd be, but we'd have to go back and change it
I
because,
think
yeah.
that might be one of the ways, Councilman, that we could do it is if they were to put their address on, and we can keep them with the clerk if you don't want them in public.
Yeah, they don't
We
have,
could keep them with the clerk, but that way, it's on the record, it can be verified,
But that would require a sheet for every meeting.
yeah.
Or we could do what the ordinance says, is they got to call town hall and get on the thing and then sign up
I
that
mean,
way.
I think we would all agree that we would like them to be able to speak on a moment's notice if
Right.
possible,
just
so.
sign up with their address when they sign their name.
Yeah, that's all, and
But they don't-
again, we
get
can,
the list
we can
so
keep
you
it
can-
with Renee,
yeah.
Yeah, or
and
they-
that way it's not public,
don't
and they
have to
could
say
say, my address is on file,
There you go.
right?
That's how we can do it, folks.
Right?
You know, if you signed up on the list, you put your address on the list, and when we have it up here, we don't need for you to repeat it so that somebody can rob you while you're up here, or rob your house, because we already know where you live. All you have to say is, my name is Barry Walker, and I have my address on file with me.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
I like it when we solve problems. You know, we can do things.
But don't go to my house, because Terry can shoot better than I can sometimes.
Mine either.
And I gotta kill a cat. Mo.
So what we would do, what time is it? I can't even see. 8?
8 o'clock? You had, no, we need recess in a
NCIS
minute.
time.
We got two things, the fireworks and the parking. And I'm assuming the parking means on the yard and also maybe in the road. What I will do, if council wants to,
Why not
is,
just do one at a time?
huh?
Just do one at a time. That way we won't get confused. I'm
Right.
for grass, I'm for fireworks, I'm for
But-
grass, I'm for fireworks. I mean,
Well,
And I wonder if we could possibly limit it,
how many do we have?
we have,
and just have a show of hands who wants it, who doesn't, if it can be that simple.
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually 7 with addresses, 1 without, but I know she lives in town. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like the same people maybe, I don't know. But 7, again, with addresses, some without.
Okay, so the 8 are for fireworks or
There's 7
parking?
for fireworks, either pro or for, I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter.
And then on the parking, and I'm not sure if this has to do with the grass or the road.
They'll tell us.
Probably the grass. There's 7 on here that actually have an address.
Well, can we just?
Well, why don't we do this?
Just start?
Yeah, let a few, but we may end up, and try to everybody, if they can, keep it to 2 or 3 minutes and everybody can speak then, so that we can get to our meeting and everything as well. And this has to do with the parking, Matthew Hall.
Matthew Hall?
Yeah. And when you come up here, just let us know first if you're for or against, so, and that way we can kind of make a note as we go.
But you don't have to give us your address.
I'm Matthew Hall. Am I only talking about parking right now?
Yeah,
Okay. Parking, one of the main reasons that I kept hearing over and over was property values. So I went online and checked property values in the town of Irmo. Over the last decade, housing prices have went from 163 to an average of 199. Also with a days on market of 149, and it's now down to 45 days on the market. So with the current state inventory-wise, for real estate, the reasoning for this ban of improved home values does not really match up with the data that's provided, because the home values and days on the market have both been improving since 2011. So over the past 6 years, you have a almost $40,000 average price increase and a days on the market of 141 down to 45. So I am against not being able to park on my lawn if I so desire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Were you down for fireworks too?
Yes.
Can we handle two at one time?
Well,
Well,
I think they said
that
we
gets
wanna do-
messy, though.
All right.
Yeah, let's go to this one and then
Okay.
to the
It's
next.
messy.
I'm sorry.
And next is Brendan Tucker.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Tucker. This is my first time coming to the meeting. My neighbors have informed me about all the parking and stuff, because she knows I use her driveway quite often as far as the parking, because, I live in Cornerstone. We all know these houses are built on top of each other. We all know our parking is only suffice for a few cars. Quite frankly, when I bought my house, it's a 3-bedroom house. It had a single file driveway, so I could park 2 cars in my yard. That was it. So I have no place else to park cars but in the front of my yard on the road. So I took it upon myself to do a driveway extension on the side of my house, which now allows me to park 6 cars in my yard.
Oh.
From what I hear, that's possibly an issue too, having too many cars in the yard. And I'm just here to get clarity and understanding on why can't we no longer park cars on the road. And I mean, quite frankly, everybody in my neighborhood has not took it upon themselves to do modifications to their driveway, and I'm not the only one with limited parking. So, does the community expect every individual household to go out and spend? For me personally, it was $4,800 I spent out of pocket for my driveway. So you expect every citizen to go spend $5,000 to modify their driveway so we can't park on the street? That's my question. If you could, this officer here came and we did paperwork, everything correctly, and as far as the permit and everything, and if your town is approving me to do this, for the reason because if you understand we have a parking issue, so you allow me to expand my driveway. Everybody can't afford $5,000. It may be more.
That's right.
That's right.
So what's changed why we can't park on the road? Another example is last year we had Hurricane Floyd hit Charleston. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I moved up here, took on the job at VC Summers. So for the hurricane, I had family come up. I had no choice but to ask my neighbors to use their driveway, and I went to each one of them and said, I'm gonna have relatives in town. Is it okay if I park in front of your house on the street? And this is before I had my driveway done. I had no complaints from any neighbor. Miss Susan's in the back. She's the best neighbor ever. Every time I have anything, hey.
Let's hear it for Susan.
My thing is, I live in a small enough community where if my neighbors are not complaining to me about the streets and we're parking safely where cars can continually pass through without any hazards, what's the issue? And that's my only gripe. And aside from that, like I said, if I did not get my driveway done, I could park 2 cars in my driveway and one in my garage. So I have a 3-bedroom house. Say if I'm married and I have 2 kids old enough to drive, now what do? I can't park on the street, so I can't get a car for my child. That's the only gripe I got. And so as far as the parking, I vote no for it.
Thank you.
You were with VC Sumner?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you all right now?
Currently, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
I thought we clarified.
Opposed.
You can park on
Opposed to the
the
parking
street,
lots,
but
parking-
not in the
opposed to
travel
parking on the
section.
grass.
Yeah.
I think
They
so.
want people parking on the grass.
Didn't we do that?
Is that what he's saying?
What's that?
Didn't we clarify the traveled part of the road
Having an ordinance saying you can't park.
as being,
I got you.
Yeah.
We've had the first reading, it says
Yeah.
we're gonna allow it.
yeah,
Parking is-
okay.
The next is Lindley Hummel. And actually, We have a Gloria Jordan, but when you come up here, I just need you to put your address on this so we can turn it in. But you can come up after him. Lindley Hummel.
Yeah, my name's Lindley Hummel. I've only been here in Irmo for about 2 years now. I believe in property rights. Person paid for their property. The individual did the research on the values of our homes, so that argument is null and void. So I'm for people being able to park on their own property with the limit that we've already have on the books of 4 cars that's already been out there. So parking wherever they want on their property. It's not destroying other people's property values, so get past that. Parking on the street, as long as it's safe to do on the street with vehicles, be able to get emergency vehicles to get by, there shouldn't be an issue. So that should be done on a case by case with each individual street in our town versus a blanket no parking on the street. That to me is not. It doesn't fit for Irmo. That's not going to work. So that's my stand on it.
Thank you.
Understand.
And Gloria, and then Susan Pope will be next.
Do you need me to state my address or just give it to
No,
you?
Well,
I
after
think
you get through
Well,
talking,
I
you
have
can
2
get it here.
dachshunds at home that will deter most people from getting it. So, and I think my husband is home by now too, so I'll just put it down later. Lost my train of thought. Wanted to thank you for voting to repeal at the August 10th meeting, that first reading to repeal. Thank you for that. And I'm wanting to ask again that you would continue to vote to repeal that, so we have all 3 readings down for repeal. And then continue to research and move towards a solution that would consider all of the variables, some that have already been mentioned tonight, such as cost. In my situation, the lot size. If I were to park in my side yard, I would be half in front of my house. No garage, those sorts of things, as well as the narrowness of my street, where parking on the street is a safety issue where I live. So I ask again, please repeal and vote. I am against parking, or against the ordinance that is on the books right now, to have a paved surface in the front of the yard in order to park off the street. That's just not feasible for the majority of our community. And let the HOAs determine what is going to work in each of their communities. Many of us live in neighborhoods without an HOA for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you. And Susan Pope.
Hello, Council. Hello, Mayor. I'm against any changes to the current parking situation. I have a few questions. I want to know, why was the ordinance changed anyway? I mean, I'm new here, but obviously the parking situation has been here for, 3-4 decades. I would like to know, why was it changed, and changed so drastically and so suddenly and so secretly? What's your solution for guest parking, for hurricanes, people coming in? What is the solution for where people will park if you pass this ordinance? I support that you just leave it as it is, and if someone is parking and it's a safety violation and any adult can see if there's a safety violation, then let the IPD handle it. That's what they do. I mean, people shouldn't block the street with 2 big SUVs, then they deserve a ticket. But to say they can't park on the street or park on their grass is just way extreme. So, thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Clarkson.
Brandy Clarkson.
Brandy.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. Yeah, Brandy. Bob.
Clarkson.
I care to Gloria, let her sign that one.
Yeah, will you have Gloria sign that? Yes.
So we'll have that straight. Go ahead.
Brandy Clarkson, my address is on file. I just want to say, in the 36 years I've lived in Irmo, which is my entire life, there has never been this much controversy about where somebody's going to park the car at the house that they paid their money for. I will not invest 1 penny in pine straw, in concrete, in anything. I will move from the town of Irmo before that happens. That's all I have to say about that. And so will lots of other neighbors. You won't have anybody to bring in for tourism or to spend money in the restaurants or the grocery stores or the hotels.
Sally Neese.
Sally who?
Neese.
Niece.
Is this the, yeah, parking.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate as well about the parking, and hopefully we will get this resolved. I know that it's been a big issue for a while, and I as well just don't see anything wrong with us being able to park in our yard, on the street if need be, or on the if anybody has a side yard, because most people have more than 2 vehicles. I mean, and if you have company, there again, you've got other vehicles as well. I do understand about the emergency vehicles, and I think common sense would take over when, I mean, I would think myself if there was an issue. I don't know anything that would maybe take place that, and if a siren or a policeman or anything, usually you've got a crowd of people watching or wanting to know what's going on. So if the car needs to be moved at that point, I'm pretty sure they would be more than glad to move it. But hopefully we can get this resolved and everybody can just relax and park where they've always parked and not worry about it. I'm hoping that that's going to be our decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Bingler.
Good evening. My husband and I have lived in Irmo for 14 years. And in the 14 years, I'll say I'm the oldest of 7 kids. There are 5 of us that live in in South Carolina. One lives in Bennettsville now, but the other 4 of us live in Columbia. As the oldest, they like to come to my house. My parents don't live in South Carolina, so when we get together, it's at my house. I live in New Friarsgate. So what do we do with parking? At this point, I have a teenager who's driving. My husband has a work truck that he drives. We have 4 vehicles, all of which are completely legal. They're all licensed, insured. And right now they're parked in our yard. 2 of them are parked in the yard, 2 of them are parked in the driveway. And the part of the yard that they're parked in is right next to the driveway, but it's in front of the house. And this is because Friarsgate was built, the houses are so close together. My husband and I took a tape measure out the other night. It's 14 foot 5 inches between my house and one neighbor, and 17 feet 3 inches between my house and the other neighbor. That's really close. And on the driveway side, the pavement actually does go all the way back to the end of the house. But if I pull a car up, I have a small Malibu. If I pull just that car up and I'm parked on the driveway, I can't open the door to get out because it's useless. I can put a utility trailer there or something, which my husband uses for work, but I can't park a car there and get out of it unless I climb out the trunk. I'm not going to do that. So I don't know. Maybe I should make my teenager do that. I don't know. So there isn't space. But the way the current ordinance is, the one that was changed, says that there's no front yard parking unless it's paved. Why can't I pave it? Because that's where the water meter is. I can't pave over the water meter. I don't think the city of Columbia would help. So just logistically and space-wise, it doesn't work for us when we park. And so actually several years ago, my husband put in some landscape timbers to designate that parking area. And we pull up around the water meter so it's not parked on top of it. It's not caving in. So it is designated. But the way it's written, it still is in front of my house. And my concern is that the way things happen is the ordinance says, well, it has to be designated side yard parking. So is that considered side yard parking? It's in front of the house. I'm afraid that I'd be told, no, I can't. So when we park our vehicles in the driveway, and then those other two in that designated space, which is right next to it. But then what about when all my siblings come to visit? We also have a lot of people. I know, this is Friarsgate. It's a 1,400 square foot house, but people like to come to my house. I'm willing to share what I have. We've had up to 25 people at my house on Thanksgiving Day before.
Wow.
Yes, it's crazy busy, but you know what? I love it. I love having people there. And the people that come, they can't park in my driveway. Some of them will pull up into my yard, and I don't mind that for that day. The other ones will park on the same side of the street, and I've never had neighbors say, we can't get through, because all my guests that come through are pretty courteous. They'll park so that people can get by. We have kids. Many of my neighbors have kids, and so we are pretty considerate in making sure that kids can cross the street. You know, they're not darting out between parked cars. And it's not an all the time thing. We don't own 10 cars that we park in the yard all the time. And I don't normally have 10 cars parked on the street. But I do understand, though, on my street, there is a neighbor that she has a couple of people that park on the street because they come and go. They're friends of her teenage daughters, and they pull their cars up onto the side. But then the person next door to them, I don't know why they don't park in the driveway. They park on the street on the opposite side. My husband drives this big box truck, and he'll have to sometimes drive around the block because it is kind of blocking the street. So that would definitely be a safety concern. Please write a ticket for that because it's blocking traffic. But in a general sense, I think it's impractical. And also, as I said, it's New Friarsgate. They built it so close together that what can we do? And honestly, if I go to a neighborhood that has an HOA, I'm more than happy to follow their rules. But I honestly don't want to have to worry about it. I'm okay with living where I am now. Even though my house might not be worth as much, even though I know I'm not going to be able to sell it for a whole lot more than I bought it for. It's maybe property values from when we bought it to where it is now, it's maybe increased 10,000 in the last 14 years. I know that. We knew that when we moved in. We're okay with that. But we don't want to have the restrictions of an HOA. We really like our freedom. So thank you.
Thank you. And Vernon Beatty.
By the way, if you need somebody to come over for Thanksgiving, I'd be glad to come.
Go ahead.
Yes, hopefully, even with my reading glasses on, I will be able to read my own writing. So really, I had 4 points, and they're pretty brief. The first one occurred to me after the last meeting. The bills that are up, there's two motions, bills, that's what I'm fishing for. There are 2 bills that are up for second reading tonight, and passage of the 2 would repeal the parking ordinances that we're objecting to. So I am in favor of passage of the 2 bills that are up for second reading tonight. Okay. Now, maybe I've got a little momentum and try to get going here. Over the space between the last meeting and tonight, I realized that the bill, in a way, is an insult to the property owners. I know it's not meant that way, but everybody that I know preferentially parks in the driveway. That's the first place it's filled up. Parking in other places is just a second choice. We don't like to do it. We have a little more space than most people, but we're able. We kind of vary. I'll park on one side in front of the house one day, the other side than the other, just to try to keep from killing all the grass. However, if you, we do have worked a number of years on the centipede, and we do have very tall, very thick centipede by now, and it's pretty resilient, pretty resistant to any tire damage. So that's how I get by with that. And like I said, I don't think that was written to be an insult, but the more I read it, the more I thought about it, it really is, because nobody's trying to be, trying to cause a problem, trying to be trashy or anything along those lines. Of course, the root of this is that population density in New Friarsgate has increased. And I think that's, certainly where you're getting more cars from. And, we've seen it, the time that we've been in New Friarsgate. And I think last meeting somebody or several people referred to blight and loosely associated with the parking in the yard and on the street with blight. And that's not blight at all. We have people, they're still living in New Friarsgate, and more people are living there now for all kinds of economic reasons. Primarily that you're not building, the builders aren't building low-end houses anymore, really. Blight is when people move out of New Friarsgate and you have houses standing empty. And that's, of course, then you have the problem of unoccupied houses go down, they deteriorate very quickly, then you have to go in, try to find the owner, eventually possibly take it over, condemn it, knock it down. That's what you don't want. And I think that applying that to merchants, vendors coming in and out of the town, if they won't come here now the way things are, that I don't think there's anything, ordinance or whatever, that you can do that's going to draw in a merchant. I guess if they are able to tell you, specifics that they think are really a problem, that's one thing. But I think just as a general, the way it's been presented is just a general idea that it doesn't look good. It's more in the homeowner association vein. I don't see any cause and effect or any kind of reasoning there that really supports that in a strong way. And finally, the last thing here is Mr. King, I think, mentioned inertia, or that y'all had worked on this bill for a while and really didn't want to repeal it entirely and go back to the drawing board. But that goes both ways. If the ordinance is not repealed, stays on the books, you still going to have to go back and work on it. And I certainly think, for me, that there's the risk of consequences, negative consequences to me and probably everybody in New Friarsgate is certainly greater if the bill stands, and we have to try to work on it, as opposed to go ahead and repeal it, study it, and if there's whatever it is, whatever motivated the original bill, come back with a good bill and put it out for comments, go through the usual procedure, and see if it still needs it, if it has support from the citizens. So, thank you.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you. Vernon Beatty, B-E-A-T-Y. And now we're at the fireworks. John Gresham.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hi.
I know some of y'all know who I am, especially from last week, or last meeting, rather. And first of all, I'd like to express my appreciation that y'all are addressing or even recognizing that there is an issue of fireworks. Last meeting we had, there were several concerns raised. There were several possible solutions offered. Long story short, y'all don't have an easy decision to make, and you've got three options or three opportunities to change your mind on things. I anticipate you've probably already got your designs made up on where you stand on the issue of what is ultimately a fireworks ban, whether it's got exceptions or otherwise. I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I think that a ban is extreme but necessary in this case. And the issue has seemed to be exacerbated by what's been going on. It's been escalated. We don't know who by, and I'm not standing up here to point fingers. The fact is it's in a certain geographic area with a lot of families, a lot of people in it, so there's no real way to pinpoint it. What I would like to do is encourage you that if you've made up your mind to the negative, if you've decided that a fireworks ban is not the way that you want to vote on this issue, please consider there are families that don't speak up. There are families that are affected that choose not to be targeted. I feel personally that I was targeted. I had a round of Saturn missiles shot from my trash can at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. And I can only assume that it's because of my stance and my outspokenness on this. People know where I live because I gave my address at the beginning of last meeting, and that's okay. At this point, it's a matter that's going to be decided by you guys. And I recognize that Irmo Police has a problem with potentially enforcing it. There's nothing to say. You can't run out, shoot off a round of fireworks, clean it up real quick, run back in, and nobody's the wiser and everybody's all boo-hoo about it. But it's still a decision that needs making, and I appreciate the fact that y'all are putting forth the effort and hopefully the research and due diligence that is your position to do. And, yay ban, but boo ban at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Next is Lindley Hummel.
I'd like to point out the obvious that if their police are having a hard time figuring out who these individuals that are doing these fireworks in our current situation, how is it going to really improve things by now causing a ban?
And Matthew Hall. And then Gloria, you'll be next after Matthew.
Gloria what?
Oh, Gloria Jordan will be next. Matthew Hall and then Gloria Jordan.
Good evening again. My opinion is this goes too far to do an outright 100% ban with exception of 2 holidays. The last meeting there was discussions about permits. You get 10 a year to use them at your discretion. There was an offer for a demonstration during the Okra Strut to help figure out what is too loud, what is not too loud to the community. And it seems that all those were ignored in favor of, no, you're not doing it whatsoever. Echoing on what the gentleman before me said, even at the last meeting, both citizens and the Irmo Police Department said that by the time they get there, the people are gone. So you cannot enforce it. So what is a total ban going to do to help the situation? It's not. I would also like to suggest that the council go back to 2011 during the mayoral race and follow Mr. King's opinion, where he said we have a lot of rules right now that we don't enforce. To me, if we're going to have a rule, then we need to enforce it. If we're not going to enforce it, get rid of the rule. Don't make new ones that we're not going to enforce. If you can't enforce it, it's as good as not enforcing it.
Thank you. And Gloria. And then Susan Pope will be next.
When it comes to creating ordinances, trying to get people to behave, you can't ordinance people out of their bad behavior when they are acting outside of what is already there. What's it really going to accomplish? I'm not for fireworks. I'm not against fireworks. I enjoy them like many people do. I choose not to spend my money on them, but it doesn't mean I don't enjoy when somebody else does, and I get a nice show. But with the excessiveness and the noise outside of what the current ordinance states, that's crossing into bad behavior, being inconsiderate towards our neighbors, and unless we want to start every meeting singing a nice round of Won't You Be My Neighbor from the Fred Rogers show, welcome to my, then, how are we going to insist that people do that? I mean, it's just trying to make light of a situation, but we can't force people to be considerate towards their neighbors. Enforcing existing ordinances seems to be what it is, a noise ordinance for those hours of the wee morning where it is an inconsideration, where it becomes excessive to where people's lives, their sleep, their children, their pets, everything is being disrupted to a point where we cannot enjoy the peace that we expect to have by living in our neighborhoods. So find a way, please, to bring the two ordinances together. Tightening up one, banning one may or may not be the right solution, but we've got to figure out how to bring what we can do and the desire for freedom to have fireworks or not or whatever, to be able to sleep peacefully in our own beds at night and not worry about what may be happening in the yard beside us that may put our own home or our own lives at risk. So please find a way to bring the ordinances to work together and to enforce what you can, and work with those that are able to do something about it, because the excess is not pleasant. It's not pleasant, and you can't enforce or ordinance people into acting right and behaving. So good luck with that.
Thank you. And Susan Pope. And then after Susan would be Brandy Clarkson.
So with the fireworks, I think an all-out ban is excessive. I think there are certain types of fireworks that should be banned on certain days. I think maybe we should allow the fireworks on all holidays and on a certain time period, maybe on Saturday. But it's the loud cannon type fireworks, and I don't know what they're called, but the fireworks expert who was here at the other meeting, he can break it down for us. I don't think all fireworks should be banned because some of them barely make a noise, and they're pretty. So I don't think they should be banned. We're putting too many HOA restrictions on people who are paying taxes and working and living their life. So I'm just not for that.
Thank you. And Brandy. Okay. And next is Christine Bingler. I think, yeah, I'm saying that correct.
I think I share a lot of the same sentiments as the others. I don't think an outright ban is necessary or practical for real. However, it may need to be modified, because if people are shooting off the great big huge booming fireworks, that's way louder than the neighbor's car stereo that everybody can hear coming from 5 blocks away. That's illegal, but fireworks aren't. That may need to be looked at, as said. The types of fireworks with the noise ordinance, being able to amend that one to include some of the types of fireworks, that wouldn't be a bad thing. As far as the time of day, I have kids that are in school, so what about going by like the school district school schedule? And if it's a school night, you can't shoot it off past 9 o'clock. It's a little bit later than some of the little elementary kids, but it's not an all-out ban, and really people would be losing like an hour, and not a whole lot, but it is more considerate for people that need to get up and go to work in the morning. And I think that a few of those things wouldn't be too bad of a ban. I mean, at least modification. As I said, an all-out ban definitely is difficult to enforce. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Vernon Beatty again.
freeze up again here. Don't think I will. I think I pretty much agree with the points that have been made, that there's a place for fireworks, the hours, those are certainly reasonable, I think, proposals that have been made. What hasn't been said yet is some of the safety issues. For example, some of the bottle rockets being shot in a neighborhood where they come down. I think that's something that has to be looked at. As I say, just an example. Start by saying that I feel that I'm fortunate to know people on both sides of the issue, and I can say that they are all what I would call good people. They either need the quiet at certain hours, they feel like they do have a right to shoot fireworks, and certainly the town ordinance gives them that right. And I think some of what I've heard is rhetoric has gotten going that it's that my right to shoot fireworks, or it's not your right, has I think contributed just to a lot of unnecessary acrimony on this. And I think the only way to really solve that is to do something to get both sides together. And so my question is, do you have any kind of procedure for getting a bill on the docket? Can citizens, a group, draft a bill and submit it? I don't know. It seems like just from the variety of opinions and that I've heard, that there's some things in common maybe that everybody could agree on, but it's complicated from what I'm hearing. Just a lot of ideas have to be taken into account, and it seems like maybe giving everybody on every side of it, there's more than two sides here, obviously, a chance to work on something, submit it. Like I said, I really don't know the ordinances and your procedure, but that's, I think, one way that would maybe help cut the acrimony down and, be productive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. There was some talk earlier about a break. It is 8:45. Do you want to do it now, or you want to go till 9?
I want to keep going.
Okay.
I think we need a break.
Well, everybody spoke that's going to speak. I know you had said something about doing a break at 9. Do you want to do it now or just wait till 9?
Do it now.
Okay.
Where's Kathy?
Is there a motion
There's a motion to go have a break, yes.
for 15 minutes, 10 minutes?
10.
Second Kathy's move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor then of a temporary break for 10 minutes, did we say? 10? Do so a show of hands. Bob, I moved this thing and I cut it off. And,
Blue button under the bottom there.
well, the blue one came on, but it turns orange. But now it's come back to orange again. What's that mean?
Yeah, you did something to it. I'll have to look at it. I'll look at it tomorrow.
Nope, now it's blue again. See, when I move it, it hits. And
Yeah.
it off. HD something, no signal.
Yeah.
All right, now we are at, it keeps going to orange. Orange, you just glad it don't work?
You just unplugged it.
Oh. Uh-oh.
That's all right.
You got too many.
One of those goes over here. Okay.
I'll plug both of these on here.
Break ours.
No, I'm moving that.
It's real tight area. You can't move it once it gets set.
There it goes.
Wait a minute. It won't, I'm trying to move this stuff. Okay, go ahead, try it.
All right, that's good. Lean it back and we'll touch that blue
Oh,
button.
it just said mayor.
There. All righty. Whoop, gotta go in front of that. That's it. There you go.
Everybody knows who he is.
All right, now,
Okay.
next item is unfinished business, third and final reading of ordinance 1720, which is the one where we are taking items out and moving it to the 264. We're taking it out of 268 and putting it in 264. So is there a motion for third and final reading of ordinance 1720?
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? And this is where we're taking those items C, which we put into special meetings, and they're supposed to be in regular meetings. So we're taking it out of one and putting it in the
Put
other.
it in the other, okay.
More of a house cleaning type thing. In fact, the next four are. Any discussion?
No, we want to vote.
All in favor then of third and final reading of 1720, do so with show of hands.
Oh, it's unanimous, hallelujah.
And next is third and final reading of 1721. Excuse me, where we're adding those four items to paragraph C, I think it is, or B, I'm not sure, B. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
And a second.
Second to you.
And any discussion?
No.
All in favor then of third and final reading, do so with show of hands.
We got it.
Next is the two flood things, 1722. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
Yep.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Which says to pass it.
Yep, this is the one we got to do to be in compliance and whatever.
So we got to pass it.
Yeah. It has to do with the floodplain manual and all that good stuff that we got to adopt.
FEMA, all that stuff.
Yeah. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then, do so with show of hands. Next is
23.
Script one, 1723. Is there a motion for third and final reading, 1723?
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
I thought that was the floodplain.
Well, both of them are,
Both of them.
1722 and 1723, both, I can't get these
One
papers
tells you what it's
separated.
applied to, and one gives you the jurisdiction.
Well, that's why, I got
Very good.
1722 ain't in here.
That's
I'm
right.
missing one.
Yeah, it was.
No, I don't
Not
have,
on the
I
paper.
don't have, not here.
Well,
It's on.
but they both had to do with the
It's on
floodplain
the
stuff.
iPad, y'all.
So, any discussion on 1723? Seeing none, all in favor, do so with show of hands. Next is 1724. This is where we're annexing the road over here at the Southland Log Homes
Yep.
driveway.
Yep.
Is there a motion for third and final reading?
So move.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, do so with show of hands. And next is 1725. This is second reading of ordinance to annex that lot over in Waterford, Murraywood subdivision. Is there a motion for second reading?
Make a motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And this is the one back on that one street in purple there where they've asked to come into the town. And they are contiguous, so we can annex them. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, do so with show of hands. Next is second reading of ordinance 1726. This is the one to repeal paragraph D. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is the ordinance that we are talking about, repealing the parking on your grass ordinance. This is a straight-out, flat repeal. I like to, hearing what people have said about the different conditions, different scenarios, different lot sizes, different street sizes, there's a lot of different things that applies to this ordinance that we did not take in consideration. I'd like to repeal the ordinance and then go back and look at it, like Councilman Pouliot said, look at it and work diligently to come up with a solution. But we have to take, unfortunately, we're gonna have to take each street, each scenario in consideration if we are to do something like this. But at this point, I just wanted to clear the books, get this repealed, and then let's sit down and think about it and do it the right way.
Is this the one from 1984?
No, that's
Now, this is the yard one.
Okay,
The next one is the street one.
it's 1984, okay.
Any more discussion?
I-
Oh,
I'm all right.
I'd just like to explain why I thought of this, or wanted to propose this. I grew up in an area where houses were 60 feet, you had a 60-foot wide lot, and if your neighbor sneezed, you said, bless you. We had a single driveway, we had a single garage. I inherited that house from my parents, and I couldn't put a car in the garage because it was built in 1939. So I understand about parking in an extended part of your driveway. I don't see if the young lady is gone now. If I parked in the garage, I couldn't get out. So I ended up cutting a hole in the side of the garage and putting a door where the car door would be. So I'd let my wife out, then I'd park the car and come out the side door. In setting this up, we gave a grace period until February for enforcement and August for people to get a designated parking area. The city of Columbia has the same thing, folks. They even accept what we accepted, landscape timbers and pine straw, just to make it a designated parking area. And I understand about lots being cut like pie shape because Mr. Mungo wanted to get the maximum bang for his buck without thinking about who he was selling houses to. The streets that are narrow, Kathy volunteered, and I told her I'd go with her, and we'd measure streets and streets that are too narrow for parking on the street. And that parking on the street, I thought we cleared that up through our attorney, that it was interpreted incorrectly, the traveled part of the roadway. He said state code says cars can park on either side of a street. What's left is the traveled part of the roadway, no double parking. Now, if streets are too narrow, we can do like cities that have been around since the 1700s. They made them one-way streets. They had parking on one side of the street. We're not the only community that has this issue. Forest Acres is going through the same thing right now. As far as aesthetics, and I don't know where the real estate, everything's going up in Irmo. It's not going up in all of Irmo. I have a good friend that is a Caldwell Banker agent, or runs the whole building, I guess, right? Because Ms. Condom used to work for him. He can give you specifics, area by area by area, what's going up, what's going down, and what sells. He was showing a house to a young couple, and they liked the house the night they saw it. The next day, when they saw the driveways that were made in lawns, they didn't like it. They moved into another area. I have a neighbor down the street from me that I helped sod the yard. He sold the house. The people that moved in decided they wanted a circular drive around in the front of their house, so they left their double wide driveway, double garage, and they park in a circle on their lawn. Now, when it rains, part of the yard goes into the street because it's dirt. You park on it enough, grass will die. And most of the grass in Irmo, when it was first sodded, they used San Augustine, what we always in South Carolina call Charleston grass, wide blade, grows anywhere, very durable, but it doesn't like cars and being mashed down. It's like putting carpet on a house and then putting carpet on top of your carpet. It kills the pile. Well, it kills the grass. So I would like to propose that we keep this, delete all of paragraph 4, and replace it with this: it shall be unlawful to park any vehicle anywhere in the front yard of a residence except in the driveway or a parking area approved by a zoning administrator. Now, I listen to you, please.
Hold on.
Parking on the grass front area of any residence for visitors or for temporary parking so long as it does not kill your grass. Parking on dirt areas in the front lawn area of a home is not allowed except for temporary use by visitors. We were going to add some more to this by the time this was to be in effect. Right now, it's still in effect. You can get an abatement for parking on your grass until this is either repealed or enacted. And as far as the designated parking area, that would not be in effect until August of next year. So
you're making that in a motion? Let me see that so I can read it and write it down. Say that again, please.
yes.
You're making a motion to amend that?
Yes.
All right, so it shall be unlawful, and we can give, yeah. I mean, if it gets a second, if it gets approved or whatever, then we'll give you a thing so you can put it in there. But it shall be unlawful to park any vehicle anywhere in the front, and I'm gonna say this kind of slow so we can follow along. It shall be unlawful to park any vehicle anywhere in the front yard of a residence except in the driveway or a parking area approved by the zoning administrator, period. Parking on the grass, front lawn area of any residence is allowed for visitors and for temporary parking as long as it does not kill the grass, period. Parking on dirt areas in the front lawn area of a home is not allowed except for temporary use, by visitors. And then, now this other part. Yeah, parking areas that will be approved by the zoning administrator include poured concrete slab, asphalt, paved areas, concrete stepping stones, pavers, bricks laid out to form a parking pad. So basically, you got a concrete slab, an asphalt area, then you got stepping stones, pavers, brick laid out, and impervious substrate, such as gravel, crushed ground, asphalt, mulch, pine straw, contained with a boundary border made of landscape timber, something such as to contain the substrate. So basically what it's saying is it shall be unlawful to park in any vehicle in the front lawn except in the driveway or approved parking area, and then these are the approved parking areas. Okay, and then
and if you
this other part 2B. Yeah, additional parking areas, yeah, because I guess you'd need that too. Additional parking areas other than what is original will be approved provided they meet their requirements, which is the stuff above and then the local location requirements in B. So basically you can...
If you get the approval of the zoning administrator, you can park it at
the first choice
your
would
front
be to
door
park
if your lot is too narrow.
Yeah.
Or to the right of your driveway, if your driveway is to the left of your house. You can build it to the right even if it ends up being in front of your house. Trying to correct Mr. Mungo as best we can.
So your additional parking areas, which is talking about in here, would be first choice is parking areas next to, adjoining either side of your original driveway. Second choice would be side yard on side of home near the driveway. Third would be the opposite side of that. And then the fourth would be areas in front of your home. So you'd still be able to park in front of your home as long as you can't park in the other areas. Is that kind of what?
And then go back to the zoning
And it would go back
ordinance
to
that
the
says
zoning
you only have 4 vehicles
administrator.
per residential lot in the town of Irmo. That's been on the books since '85.
Yeah, but that's not.
It's a
We're-
vehicle.
Yeah.
Are you done? Can we make the motion so I can?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not going to write all this down here, but, because I can't write it all, but, you want to see it?
Yes, I do.
So there was a motion to amend, let's see, where we at right here? And I will go ahead and second that because I want to discuss that. Oh, I wrote Kathy's name down. While y'all reading that. Oh, you want to go ahead since you made the motion?
Well, you can build a $4,000 driveway. Excuse me.
Hold on. We're up here
I
discussing.
said,
I'm gonna ask you to leave. Now, listen, everybody, there's a way to do this, okay? Y'all all agree? We can all act like adults, y'all act like adults, right?
it's all, as far as how much you spend, that's up to you. You can drive a Volkswagen, you can drive a Ford, you can drive a Chevy, you can drive a Cadillac, whatever you can afford. As far as a parking area that meets our zoning administrator's idea as what is practical, what is the right thing to do, landscape timbers, City of Columbia says landscape timbers, 4x4s, whatever. Crush and run, pea gravel, pine straw. If you want some pine straw, I've got a backyard full of it. You want to pave it? I have a neighbor that built a new driveway, it cost him $6,500. That's what he wanted. He tore his other one up, had a new one packed in and done, because he plans to live there until he dies. He built the house in 1968 and has been there since. This is not to hurt anybody as far as getting into your pocket, and you have until August to do this as it was originally written. Landscape timbers, which are the oval-shaped ones, they're $3.95. 10 would mark you a nice big parking area adjacent to a concrete driveway that most homes in all subdivisions have. Fill it full of pine straw. You got a designated parking area. The grass is not going to die outside this area. It might die underneath the pine straw, but grass is pretty resilient under pine straw. It likes the acid that the pine straw leaches into the soil. It makes things look better than having cars parked everywhere in a yard. There's a reason for it. It doesn't sell your house. Now, you ask a real estate agent, if they're a truthful real estate agent, they'll let you know. Look at people come into a neighborhood, they look at other houses. And another reason I propose this is because we have two sets of ordinances in the town of Irmo. If this person over here rents their house, they've got to have everything in apple pie order according to the ordinances of the town. Shutters can't be hanging by a thread. Garage doors must be functional, no broken windows. Grass must be cut. Everything that you can think of is in that ordinance for renters' property. This landowner is being held to a higher standard than this landowner over here who lives in his house, doesn't cut his grass, doesn't do this, doesn't do that, but they aren't penalized like the man who's renting his house out. Why can't we have one standard for the town of Irmo, whether it's a rental house or a homeowner-occupied house? It makes sense to me. I'm sorry, I'm pretty logical about things. So live long and prosper.
Well, I second it, so I'm going to go next. the first one that we passed, in fact, we've had two. There was one that we did, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was one paragraph, and we changed that because I think it said you could park in the road, maybe like 2 foot or something, which I kind of felt like. And then we came up with the other one that we passed, third reading July something, 18th or whatever it was. And I think we had agreed that there's some more changes needed to be made to give our zoning administrator authority to approve a lot of exemptions. Exemptions or variances, whatever we want to call them, and that kind of stuff. I do kind of feel like that there is no easy solution. It's either allow it or don't allow it, or come up with something in between that encourages people in a way not to park in the grass, but also allows them a lot of options, which is the side areas first, and then if they can't park in the side areas, then they can get a thing from Bob that says your parking area can be here. If the land is, this thing went out again. If the land is sloped, is that going out?
Bring it up to you. There you go.
If the land is sloped or there's trees or something to one side or the other and you can't, then that would be a reason to get an exemption to put it in the front area. But the preference is go to the side where the parking driveway is and then add to either side of that driveway. If you can't do that, then go, like one lady was talking about, when you got a side yard, you can pull back there. If you can't do that, then you go to the other side, and if you can't do that, then you're back to the front. And it'll be allowed, according to meeting that condition. And there's really nothing, in my mind, we can do differently. It's either, or just not do one at all. And here's the thing that I feel like, and I've heard it tonight in a couple of different ways it being said, but, you know, we're talking about somebody's right to do what they want to in the lawn, or in their yard, or on their property. But we've also had a lot of people tell us we should do something about what people can do on their property, having to do with fireworks. We've also done a lot of stuff that people can do on their property in regards to loud music, partying, being naked, all kind of other stuff. Yes, everything isn't going to be easily enforceable, but we also have speeding tickets. People speed. We can't catch every one of them, but we still have a law. We still have an ordinance or whatever to regulate that. I've heard a lot of talk being said about, you know, common sense and different things like that, but if you look at this fireworks problem, that's not been adhered to, you know. Yes, we should use common sense. We should be able to treat our neighbors with respect, but that doesn't always happen, and when it doesn't, that's when we, as the government, end up having to come up with stuff to regulate that so that people will be more considerate of their neighbors. You know, either we have something that has a lot of exceptions in it, which this one does, and a lot of options as far as if they want to do a concrete slab or a paved area, hallelujah, amen, good. If they don't, then they can put the landscape timbers down and gravel. If they don't, then they can put the landscape and pine straw or mulch or whatever they want to. At least it defines it into a certain area where they can park. A lot of the problems in New Friars Gate was not just the builder, but at that time interest rates were very high. And so in order to sell homes, they eliminated smaller lots, driveways, no garages, no porches, just anything they could to get the house to an affordable thing. And we're suffering that consequence now because back then, most people had 2 cars, 1 or 2. Yeah. Now everybody has 4. I think one of the things we need to do too is probably on our next agenda is put the building thing on there that we talked about so that all future homes that are built in the town have X amount of square foot of concrete. So wide, so long, it holds 4 cars, and they just got to build them that way. We changed the ordinance years ago on making sure every new subdivision got built had at least 1 sidewalk down the side of the road. So we're not always playing catch up on that. And I think we can do the same thing with that, just require them all to have X amount of concrete space and to hold 4 cars. I think Lexington all their subdivisions over there have to be able to park 4 cars.
You see that?
But,
You see that paper?
but they allow the garage to count. So you can have 2 in the garage and 2 in the, but that's still, because a lot of people don't park in the garage. You need to have 4 in the lawn. And the other thing I think we need to do is, if this passes, I made some notes on that, but I think one of them is after whatever we do, is we defer it, so that if we do these changes, then there's 3 or 4 months or whatever, so that we can look over this stuff and let the public have a good chance to look at it too, and then they can come back to us with those concerns about what's on the table at that time. If we just wait, I don't think anybody other than Julius and the ones coming up with stuff is going to come up with it. We've had since July the 18th, and if you come up with any better ideas, Councilman Walker.
Well, we're talking about amending this ordinance right now. I don't know what you've
Yeah,
been talking about.
but have you
the last
came up
30
with anything? Have you come up with anything in the last 2 or 3
Yeah, I
weeks,
want
4 or
to
5
repeal
weeks?
this nonsense
Well,
you're talking about. That's what I'm going to do.
well,
Okay?
but you ain't
now,
come up with
my
nothing
turn
new.
to speak. Are you
No,
done? Are
no.
you done rambling? Or
No, I'm not. Let me have that back so I can finish.
Go ahead. Here you go.
And I think another thing we need to do is, whatever we do here, if we do anything here, is add a grace period to this too, so that there'll be a grace period on this for 6 months or whatever time frame or something. Now I'm through.
Is it my turn now?
Anybody? You want to go?
Go ahead, and
Yeah,
then
I
I'll
wanna
go.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Waits, did you not hear what these people have said to us on Facebook? And what these people have said to us tonight? Did you not listen to any of that stuff, sir?
Mr. Walker, I am on the same Facebook page, and I also
Right.
know the population of Irmo, and
Right.
that Facebook page is not but 1% of the population of
Well,
Irmo.
guess what? That's the 1% that bothered to come out and say, I want to tell you how I feel, Mr. Walker, Ms. Condom, and Mr. Waits.
Okay.
That's the 1% that said that I wanted to tell you that this parking ordinance that you proposed.
Do you know who calls me on the phone?
I don't know who calls you on the phone, but
Okay.
I know who calls you. I know who Facebook posts you on.
That's my only source of communication.
Is it Facebook post?
That's
Or
not
the
my.
telephone?
That's not my only. You talking about Facebook? That's
Right,
not
I'm
my only.
talking about Facebook. I'm talking about Facebook because I know that that's telling us what the people are wanting to hear. The people are wanting us to know. I know that that's a vehicle to do that. And because I know that that's a vehicle to do that, I'm looking at all the posts that they've said. That's why I started my question to you. Have you not listened to any of the people out here today? What they've said to us tonight, what they've said to us on Facebook? Because if you did listen to what the people have said to us, there's no way in the world you would have come up with an ordinance to amend my repeal to come up with this tonight. There is no way that we can sit here as a council and come up with a satisfactory solution to this problem in one night with one repeal. We have to sit down and figure out by street basis how to apply something like this. And that's exactly what Councilman Pouliot said. We can repeal it, but will we actually come back and look at each individual person's thing? We can't have a blanket approach, which is what you're trying to do. A blanket approach that says, we're going to ban parking, going to do this. You're not going to be able to park in any part of your property because whatever. And that's not right. And we know that's not right.
How long have you been on council, sir?
14 years.
And when were these ordinances written that we're trying to straighten out?
The one you written was written, what, 2 months ago?
In response to what ordinance?
Response to the fact that you want to make Irmo beautiful again. You want to stop people from parking in the grass. I guess. I don't know.
Well, the
I fought against
the
it.
parking on the street ordinance was written in 1985.
I'm talking
You
about
weren't
the
on.
parking on the grass ordinance. That's what I'm repealing. I'm talking about the parking on the grass. You can't park any vehicles on your grass on your property. That's what I'm trying to repeal.
And this ordinance doesn't say that.
Well, my motion also said that would be on a emergency situation or extra
See, now
guest.
you're getting into the HOA concept, okay? Irmo is not.
Not really.
Well, you ought to be an expert on that since you live in one.
Absolutely. You know why I live in one? Because that's what me and my wife chose to live in one.
Why?
We pay $400 a year to be in an HOA. All right?
And you don't have to. And you don't have to worry about
guess what?
aesthetics.
Yes, we do have to worry about aesthetics. I chose to live in an HOA. Some people in Friarsgate did not choose to live in an HOA. That's what, I mean, but you want to impose an HOA, a town-driven HOA, with Officer Stokes with a Glock on his side going in and enforcing it.
With a Glock on his side.
Let's not get carried
that's
away.
exactly what you do.
I mean, you're lectioneering, but let's not get away. Let's not.
The police officer goes and enforces your HOA laws, town living HOA laws.
Well,
And that's a guy with a Glock, and I think that's what we don't have in my neighborhood. But I digress. Let me get
Yes,
back.
you do.
You want to say, I want to force this amendment on us tonight, and it's too complicated a situation.
I haven't twisted anybody's arm.
Well, then, okay, then withdraw your amendment then, if you don't want to.
I don't want to withdraw my amendment, but I'm not twisting
Okay.
anybody's arms.
Well,
There's
we
4
gotta
people
vote.
here that have intelligence, and I hope they'll make up their own minds.
Well, again, you know, you have intelligence, and you're trying to amend a bad bill with this complicated bill, where we don't have enough information, enough time to think about the impact it's going to have on Ms. Jordan's property, Mr. Smoke's property, Mr. Gresham's property. There's different situations in Friarsgate. Now, you're right. I don't have to worry about that where I live at because my streets are big enough, and you better not park on my grass. I spent $1,000 on the sod to get it done. You know, you can't do that on my house. But in Friarsgate, maybe, I don't know, somebody's got 4 cars, maybe they have to park because they have nowhere else to park. And you don't want them parking on the street because, you know, that's $25 a car. I think it's $25 ticket, right? Parking on the street? Okay.
Until we repeal it.
Well, until we repeal that.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I digress, you know.
Mark wants to talk.
Look, I'm concerned. Again, I think I voiced that I think something has to be done. Because I would not live in a neighborhood when I came here. I would not live in a neighborhood that they were parking on the grass.
You should have moved to my neighborhood then, you know that?
Let him.
You really should have.
Well, honestly, I chose an area that people don't park on the grass. They don't. They just don't. So, I mean, in my neighborhood, I'm fine, and that's why I moved to my neighborhood. But believe me, I looked throughout Irmo. I looked at 26 houses here in Irmo. 26. And honestly, there are some that the real estate agent, I drove in her car with my wife, and if I saw other people parking on the grass, I said, keep going. Honestly. I came from an area where it was a proud city, and now they call it the bucket. Come on. And you can see parts of New Friarsgate that are slummy, plain and simple. They are. They're not.
That's Friarsgate. You're trying to buy an entire ordinance.
He's got the
for
floor.
Irmo.
Let him
wait a
finish.
minute.
He let you finish. Go ahead.
I understand that, but
Don't say Irmo is slummy because
Councilman
I live in
Walker.
I didn't say Irmo was slummy. I didn't.
Friarsgate.
I said
Councilman Walker, he's got the
parts.
floor.
Parts. Councilman, I said parts of it. To me, there should be no parts of Irmo that are a slum, that look slummy. It should be our jobs to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's what we should be doing here, in my opinion.
I don't know where you're talking about Irmo's slum.
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
I don't say
This is on the record. I did not say that.
But I don't
Councilman
see
Walker,
where
someone
what
else
part of
has the
Friarsgate
floor.
is a slum?
I'm going to keep
What part of
talking
Friarsgate
outside
is
and
a
over
slum?
you until you understand and respect him. Let him finish. We let you finish, let him finish.
Councilman, if you would like, we can take a ride, and I'll show you.
Tell me.
I'm not going to tell you.
Because there is no place that is a slum.
Really?
There is no slums in Friarsgate. I'm sorry. There are no slums in Friarsgate. These people do not live in a slum.
I'm not
They don't
saying
live next to a slum.
Nobody
These
said
people
they
don't
did.
live around a slum.
Nobody said they did.
He just said it was. The man just
All
said
right.
Friars Gate had slums in it, okay?
That's not what I said.
Do you want to speak, Kathy?
For the record, Mr. Pouliot, tell the people where you
What
live
did you say?
as far as your subdivision
I live in Hidden Oaks.
in New Friarsgate.
I do. That's where I live. I bought a house out of foreclosure. I took the worst house on the street and I made it one of the nicer ones.
Okay,
It's
so
not
you
my
got a good deal
opinion.
on your house on foreclosure.
I did.
Now you want to impose
Not much.
HOA laws for everybody else in the town.
All right, this is just, I'm going to let Kathy speak.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I don't know the answer. I know what you're talking about. I know that that would be a goal. It may be a difficult goal, but this isn't going to do it.
I'm agreeing with you. You saw the way I voted last week. Last time.
I want to do this, but it's not going to work.
I know we can't have this. And you know what I would like to do? I would like to defer this until after the election. That's what I would like to do.
Right now, we got another motion. We got to vote on that one. And then we can defer the whole thing or defer what's been amended or whatever. But right now, we got this amendment. Did you want to speak on this amendment?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I do want to address some things that was said. Back in 2004, I think when I ran for election then, there were some other people running too. And one of them did refer to some parts of Irmo as being a ghetto or some kind of name like that. And that's what came up, and this has been back in 2004. Now, I don't know exactly what areas they were referring to, but I kind of know what they were talking about. And I've had a lot of people who have spoke to me since, I don't know, 2004 or 5 or 6 or something, in regards to a lot of these issues with their neighborhood going down. Some of these have lived here for about 30 years, and they've seen a lot of change, not good. And there's a lot of little issues, I think, that kind of compile together to bring property values down. It's just not parking in the grass, but it's a lot of stuff. But yes, I've had yourself, there's people on this Facebook page too that had mentioned they rode through the same thing and they wouldn't buy a house in certain areas because of the way the other houses looked. We got to address that. 10 years from now, it's going to be worse. In my opinion, it's going to be bad. And that's why we got to address it. We're not trying to make an HO out of anything, but we have a lot of ordinances. Dilapidated buildings, which you did vote for, and restricted property rights there. We do that a lot. You have to in order to, for the betterment of the community. If people are not going to be respectful of other people, and this firework thing is a good example, I am afraid that at some point people are going to go out in the street and start beating up on each other or whatever. I don't think it needs to happen, and I think we need to do something before that happened. But I can hear and see and read that people are getting frustrated. People are getting aggravated because nothing's been done, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And this, to me, is we're given a lot of options. We're saying you can have all kind of parking areas between pine straw and concrete. That's a big variety. We're given first choice, second choice, third choice, and fourth choice. Trying to get people to go to the side yard, leave the grass in the front yard. But if not, if it won't work for whatever reason, then they can build that designated parking area in the front yard. I think it is a good compromise between not allowing it and allowing it. That's a good compromise. I don't know if you can come up with anything better in a month of Sundays and 5 more years of thinking about it. I don't think nothing's going to come up. I think it's just a ploy to kill it, and nobody's going to start over with anything. I don't think there's been any effort by some to come up with anything that works better. A lot of talk, but no action. And that's why I think we need to leave it on the books, amend it to this, or go back to the other one. We can still defer it, and we still have whatever amount of time we defer it to until January, to let people look at this and figure it out, and then let other council members come up and add something to it or amend it. But that's just my opinion. But we're at the point where we need to vote to amend or not vote, or turn it down, so vote for or against. If either one passes or doesn't pass, then we can still vote to defer it. So, any more questions, any more talk, any more, you ready to vote?
This is for the amendment.
Yeah, this is for the amendment. And I do want to, before we vote to amend it, I want to add one more amendment to it. I want to amend to add, at the end of all this, a 6-month grace period after final passage. So that's my amendment, and I'm going to make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And what we'll do is vote on this. If it passes, then vote on the amendment. If it doesn't or does, then we can vote for defer.
So I just want to understand, this would keep this situation on the books, so it has to be addressed by this council,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But instead of the one that we passed July the 18th,
Yeah, that was wrong.
it'll be this one that we're voting on.
Which we don't have a clue about because.
And then we'll have until whatever day is deferred to look at that. And then come up with some more changes or trash it all you want to January and start over. I don't, so you understand?
So this is you're amending the amendment to say.
Yeah. So right now, the
6-month
amendment
grace
is to add a 6-month grace period after final passage. All in favor of that amendment, do so with show of hands.
Wait a minute now.
Oh.
I just want to understand. You're saying change it until August?
No, this thing here,
Really, Hardy, you should wait until you do your amendment.
this thing
because it's
here
confusing, as it is.
is going away
Right.
to this thing here.
That's what that's doing. That's taking that one and throwing it out.
Throwing it out,
So in
throwing
essence,
this one out and replacing it with this one.
in essence, we're repealing that.
Yeah. We're deleting paragraph 4 altogether, but we're replacing it with this paragraph 4. And then, what I've just made a motion is to add a 6-month grace period to this.
Okay, you should take the first one first.
Vote on the amendment
No.
first.
Do
and then-
that.
No.
Okay, let's vote on the 6 months from whenever. This is,
Because that's the last amendment.
this is
which
very
6 months.
complicated, and the
So this
zoning
is how you do it. You
administrator
throw a
is going
bunch
to
of
be
minutia out
overworked
there
and
and hopefully
underpaid.
something will stick.
So all in favor then of adding a 6-month grace period after final passage to the amendment that Julius made, do so with show of hands. All opposed? All right, so now we are voting on this thing here that Julius gave, which is to delete this stuff, replace it with this, with a 6-month grace.
So that repeals that.
Yeah, it's gone.
That's what we're voting on now.
Well, we're voting on
No, we're voting
deleting
on the
and replacing.
We're getting rid of that one.
No,
Yeah,
It doesn't repeal
We're
it, you're
voting on
amending
the
the
amendment.
repeal.
Right.
We're not-
But in essence, it's taking that right out of it.
yeah,
No, it's not. It's-
Yes, it is.
it is, replace it with
changing
this
the
one.
wording, same thing.
Yeah,
All right.
and it has the 6-month grace period or whatever. So, any discussion on that? Are you ready to vote?
I'm ready.
All right, all in favor of the amendment to delete paragraph 4 and amend to this following with a 6-month grace period, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Now,
Now you gotta vote on the amendment.
now we got to vote on the amended thing as to 1726 will now say delete paragraph 4 and replace with this here with a 6-month thing. Before we do that, you wanted to
I want to defer.
defer. All right, so you want to make a motion to defer until,
I want to make a motion to defer until February.
We've got to pick a date.
All right,
February.
The first,
First
the
meeting?
first meeting in February.
We need it before the 1st of February, period, because that is when your old ordinance is planning to go effective and go live. I don't.
It's gone.
All right, so
We just got rid of it. Well,
6 months.
6 months added grace period.
6 months out of grace period.
This is the confusing part I'm telling you about. This is why you can't
So
throw something like this
we'll
out.
do January. We'll do the second meeting in January.
do you know what date that is?
Yeah, I need a calendar because it needs to be on the record. You deferred it to whatever.
I got one on my phone, but I don't know how to turn it
I've
on.
got one on the iPad. Hold on.
So,
In January?
he said the second meeting in January, third Tuesday.
January 16th?
If that's the second meeting.
That's it.
2018.
Now, I don't remember if last year if you guys gave the day after New Year's off and y'all didn't have your meeting on that day or not. You do have the 9th and the 23rd, which were alternatives, and I think I don't remember how you did it last year.
I think we should.
The 16th.
The 16th is the second Tuesday, yeah.
16th would be the second Tuesday, but are we going to meet on the 2nd of January?
Probably not.
So let's do the 16th, the 9th and the 23rd. So let's do the 23rd.
Nope. What's the third Tuesday?
What's the third Tuesday of the month?
The third Tuesday of the month would be the 16th.
Okay, that's the meeting.
So are we not going to meet on the 2nd?
Yeah, what do you mean?
But we still don't change to the other date.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just, yeah.
All right. All right. So
So there's a
the
motion
16th.
to defer until
That-
January
You
16th,
got a motion on the
2018.
floor to repeal it first. If he wants to make a deferment, he has to wait until after the repeal. Okay. Guys,
We have got rid of the
you're not-
repeal.
No, you haven't gotten
Yeah, we
rid of
did.
the repeal.
We just changed from repealing this to deleting this and adding this. That's what the
Have
ordinance
you
said.
voted on that yet?
We're going to vote on deferring it and then to vote on that.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Because you wouldn't vote on deferring it after you voted on it. You can't. It'd be over with.
Well, if you're deferring it, Hardy, why are we voting on it tonight if we're going to defer it?
Because we have to vote on the amendment that was made. There's an
No,
amendment
sir.
made.
You have to, if you want to defer it, after we vote on it, either we vote up
Now,
or
you
down,
can, you
then
can
you
amend,
defer it.
So
you can amend the thing that just says, we added the 6-month grace period. Now I want to make a motion to defer this. You can vote on it, and then we got to pass the ordinance or fail the ordinance.
No, after we pass the ordinance or not pass the ordinance. If we don't pass the ordinance, there's nothing to defer. If it passes,
I
then
don't
you got
think
to.
y'all can park anywhere, to tell you the truth. So,
Well, it don't matter. I mean, if you want to do that.
I want to defer it until the 23rd.
You want to defer,
Wait until after we vote it up or down, and then defer. If we pass it, then defer it.
This is something that the next council, whoever it is, should be dealing with.
all right,
All right. Well, this is my turn to speak, right? We can speak on this amendment.
well, we're right in the
Yes,
deferment.
the deferment, right?
Yeah.
Can I speak on the deferment?
Yeah.
Folks, this is the reason why you have a council that works together and tries to figure out solutions, not throw minutia at you and throw all kinds of garbage at you.
So
about,
are you going
I'm
to speak
talking,
to
I'm
council?
speaking, I'm
Are you going to
speaking.
speak to council, or are you going to speak to the audience?
Speaking to the general public. So they
Well,
can hear
you
me.
need to be addressing
Okay.
the council. That's what
Okay,
we're
well,
up here to
Hardy,
do.
this is why you
Okay.
don't pass ordinances like this on the fly. This is a complicated ordinance. We've already said that each
Yeah, it's
person's property.
complicated.
Can I speak now? Or are you going to
Yeah.
interrupt me?
I'm going to interrupt you like you interrupt everybody else, yeah.
Good. Well, everybody has said here that we have different situations, different lots, different sizes. Streets is bigger, some streets are bigger than others.
Yeah.
You can't throw something like this, as complicated as that is, as a blanket ordinance over the town of Irmo.
That's
I
why
don't
you
have
defer
that
it.
problem in my town, in my street.
It's not a blanket ordinance.
It is a blanket ordinance.
It's got
law for
1,
the
2,
town of
3,
Irmo,
4,
Hardy.
5, 6, 7,
It's
8,
a blanket
9
ordinance. It's
options.
a blanket ordinance applied to everybody who lives in the town of Irmo, not just Friars.
Same as speeding.
Okay, not
So-
just Friarsgate. So the point is,
You want to
can't-
defer or not?
I'm speaking on that.
No,
the
you're
point
not.
is, you can't throw a deferment.
Yeah, we can.
on top. How can you do that? We haven't even voted
That's
on
what council does. That's what they can do. Yeah, they can. They can vote. So,
it. Y'all,
you want to defer it or you want to vote on it?
I think we should defer it until the 23rd of January.
Are you going to defer
23rd of
what's been
February?
amended to?
16th of 16th.
Okay.
You want to defer it? And meanwhile, these people are going to get $1,000 abatement.
No, they're not.
What do you mean, no, they're not?
We just
How
threw
many
that out.
notices did you write last week? You told me you wrote, what, 34?
If we pass the amendment, the other ordinance is
Excuse me, how
gone.
many abatement notices did you write
So
for parking on the grass?
it's gone. There won't be no whatever because that one's been replaced.
How many? $145,000 tickets, okay?
No, they weren't.
What do you mean, no, they're not?
Because they were
Because
given us
it's,
6 months.
Mr. Walker,
notice here.
Mr. Walker, read this line right here,
Yeah.
please, sir, in the existing ordinance. No tickets will be issued until February 1st, 2018.
Okay, so you got what, 4 months, 5 months to
Grace
pick up
period.
$1,000?
No.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do nothing, you're going to get a $1,000 ticket. The guy just wrote a $1,000 warning.
I'm ready to call a
got,
question.
What, 6 months to get $1,000 up? If you don't do nothing?
This is not a good answer.
That's not the way it's worded, and that's not
It
the
is.
way the
And
law
we
is
got
written.
6 months or whenever, February, January, what
You
you
got
say?
a
This-
zoning administrator making 1,000 decisions.
This keeps it on the books. This is something we all
Keeps it
spoke
on the
about
books.
doing it. We all spoke
Listen,
about
y'all. They don't want to
Gotta
listen
be
to it.
filtered even
Y'all
more.
just-
I agree with you. I agree it's got to be filtered. That's what we need to do with this thing. We need to keep filtering this. No?
We need to repeal it and then sit down like we're doing it.
Are we going to do that, though?
No, we're
We're going to
not.
do it just like we're doing it now. We're going to come up with a solution,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to say, okay, does this apply to Kenton Road? Does this apply?
Ain't
to
got nothing to do with each road.
That's how we do this.
That's the
Don't
other one.
throw a blanket ordinance like
Yeah.
that out and apply it to the entire town of Irmo, because my street, Shadowleaf Court, does not have this problem.
We're not talking about in the road, we're talking about in the yard. That's all we're talking about here, and that's all this
We don't
has
have
to do
the
with.
problem in my yard parking in
We're
my
good,
yard.
but we do another,
but
and that's all we're
y'all
talking
don't
about
wanna-
here.
Whatever you want to do, I'm voting against it, but y'all,
So there, right now, there's a motion to defer. Is there a second? I'm going to second that, just so we can get on to that. Till January the 16th, 2018. All in favor of deferring it?
and I don't know how you can defer something we haven't even,
Well, we're going to talk about deferring it, and then we're going to go back to this and vote on it. Because that has to be approved. We hadn't approved that.
Mr.
We've
Mr.
amended it,
Attorney,
but we hadn't approved it.
Parliamentarian, is that proper procedure to do that?
To defer before you voted on something?
Correct.
No, we're defer
He made a
the
motion. to
second,
amend
we're going to defer the third reading of this until January, whatever it was.
January
16th.
16th.
We're going to defer the third reading.
Second reading yet, right?
Well, we're going to do second reading as soon as we decide if we're going to defer it or not defer it.
He has to do
If we don't
second
defer it,
reading
we'll
first,
vote on
then
it tonight, and it goes into effect, second reading tonight. And then we got third reading.
Again, this, everybody here knows that I'm not like a parliamentarian in the traditional sense. There's only one of them.
But if we want to do it the other way, that's fine too.
I just don't understand how you can defer to third reading if we don't even know there's going to be one.
Well,
Exactly.
I just don't know how you
Exactly.
well, do you want to do the second reading and then defer it?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to do what?
We're going to vote on the second reading.
Okay.
and
As
then-
amended.
And then
And then
defer.
if that passes,
All right.
then
So all in favor then of the second reading as amended to this stuff here, do so with show of hands.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you vote, have we concluded the discussion on the amendment of second reading?
Yes.
Have you said anything, Ms. Condon, about this?
Yes, she did.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I heard your voice. That's
I did.
I know I was kind of loud, and I didn't mean to be. But I was trying to make my point is that,
It's not going to work.
thank you. Okay, so you heard my voice. Let's vote.
listen, I
Let's
agree
vote.
with you. I
Let's
agree
vote.
with you that it's not going to work.
Well, then why are we voting on it?
We're voting on it.
Okay, let's vote on it then. If it's not going to work and you agree, let's vote. Come on.
All right.
Go ahead, call it. Call the roll.
All in
I
favor
want you to
then
call the roll.
of second
Call
reading?
the roll, please.
You want to be here all night?
Call the roll.
All right, go ahead.
We already are here all night.
Yeah, we probably will be. Councilman Walker.
Councilman Walker, no.
Okay. Julius.
Yes.
And HK, yes. Kathy.
No.
And Mark.
Yes.
So that's 3 yes
All right.
and 2 no's.
Now, all in favor of deferring it till January 16th, do so with show of hands. Opposed? And we've got until January 16th to come up with something better. Councilman Walker will be listening and waiting for your improvements.
Meantime, enjoy those $1,000 abatement notices that you're going to get.
There is no $1,000 abatement. That's bull. That's a lie.
Chief, do you understand there's no $1,000 tickets?
Because that ordinance is gone.
That
The other
ordinance
one
is
is gone. That's gone. No, we're going to go on to next item, which is second reading,
let the
ordinance
chief-
1727.
No.
Let the
Let's
chief
go ahead and ram
clarify
this down
this.
people's throats.
No, let's just move on with what we're here to do.
Okay, let's move on to what we're here to do then.
If the chief wants to talk a little bit later about this, fine, but we got other items on here. Let me just remind everybody, this is a council meeting. This is what we're here to do. We're here to decide, we're here to vote, we're here to make decisions. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. It is open to the public, but it is a council meeting. That's what we're here to do. Second reading of ordinance 1727, which is the one that has to do with parking in the street, which we had first reading on that one. Is there a motion for second reading of 1727?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? This
If-
is the one where we're taking that
If
one
all
sentence
this,
out,
yeah,
the traveled portion of the street.
if all the streets were the same size, and if we had ample room for parking on both sides and emergency vehicles, then this would work, the thing would have worked.
Yep.
But we don't.
That's right.
Right.
So we're correcting a mistake,
That's right.
and I think it's the best way to do it.
I agree.
And we can, at some point, come in once we start discovering which roads make, what do you call it, adjustments to that. That any street that's, I'm gonna just say less than 20-foot wide, no parking. Any street that's less than 24-foot wide, one side, and any street that's 28 or whatever, you can park on both sides.
And I think
But that's gonna take some time to do that.
it is,
but-
because we have to measure the streets.
So, okay, so why are we forcing this through so quickly then?
No, we're repealing it.
Yeah, why
We're
are we
taking this-
doing
This is,
Because we have two ordinance, one says you can park in the street, and one says you can't. So we're trying to clarify those two things
You'll
to
be
make sure
able to
there's no
park in-
mix-ups.
Well,
is
this
what-
literally means you can stop and park on Lake Murray Boulevard.
No.
No,
After this, why not?
because if you stop in the middle of the road, you're in the traveled
Say middle of
portion.
the road, you can stop and park on the side of Lake Murray
No,
Boulevard.
you can't. It's not marked over there for parking.
What
both of
street
those
is
lanes are
What
marked.
street is marked for parking?
Both lanes of Lake Murray Boulevard are marked for travel. None of them's marked for park. So you can't.
Okay, what streets are marked for parking in Friars Gate?
I don't know that any are, but they're not
There
marked for
isn't.
travel
There
either.
isn't. That's my point.
Well, they're
So
not
by
marked for
repealing
travel
it,
either.
You can park, literally, you can pull up, the way I understand it, you can pull up and park on Lake Murray Boulevard.
No, you
And I
can't.
don't believe we really want to do that.
And I don't
but
think you
can't
can.
do that.
But that's your interpretation, but that's probably
Right.
not correct.
All right? I support the no parking on the street ordinance because it makes sense. But are the roads going to be wide enough? There's going to be at least a,
I think the people that live on the roads that aren't wide enough know it. And-
Exactly.
And I think that's, they know better.
Well, we have, I think, two, and I'm gonna see if they're here.
what if,
3078 says no person shall allow or permit any vehicle, That's not the right one. Let's see. 3082 says in a traveled portion of the street, and then, that may be at 3076. No, 3076. No vehicle shall be parked in any place within the town in such a fashion that it creates a safety hazard to the citizens of the town of Irmo, which would mean Lake Murray Boulevard, that would create a safety. The other one, 3082,
No, it wouldn't. There's plenty of room to park
3082
around it.
says, prohibited, except at the direction of a police officer, no person shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle, whether occupied or not, on the sidewalk, within an intersection, crosswalk, railroad track, any place where official traffic control devices prohibit stopping, standing, parking. Additional prohibitions, exceptions, except to them momentarily pick up or discharge of passengers, no person shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle, whether occupied or not, in a traveled portion of the street. We're just removing that section there, is all we're doing.
You can't just pull it. I like to give you a friendly amendment to your ordinance. I'd like to make a friendly amendment.
Are you trying to be like Hardy King?
I'm trying to be friendly about it. My friendly amendment says, instead of just waxing the travel portion part, say the travel portion of the street with a width equal to 3 traffic lanes, and there's clearly a visible parking allowed sign on that street. In other words, there's no parking on very narrow roads because there'll be no parking signs available there. And those streets are not clearly 3 travel lengths wide.
Okay, have you got that written down, Hardy?
I can say it again.
Say it again.
The amend your motion to say the travel portion of the streets with at least equal to 3 traffic lanes, and there's clearly visible parking allowed signs on those streets. In other words, we're gonna have to go through each street in Friarsgate or wherever.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, and say, yes, you can park on this side of the street because it has wide enough streets to park.
Wait a minute. Okay.
I'm confused.
I am too.
What I'm saying is,
I know what you're saying, but
it has to be a street big enough, 3-car lengths of travel lanes, big enough to park.
except
For instance-
there aren't any except Lake Murray Boulevard.
Well, no, I believe, isn't,
North Royal Tower will do.
Well, it might.
North Royal Tower would be, I think.
Well, okay. This is to park 2 wheels on the grass, 2 wheels on the street. That it's to use the street for supplemental parking is the reason I wanted to repeal it.
Right.
It does more than that, but that's what I'm asking for. What you're asking for, we got to go out there and measure the streets. That's you and me, Officer Stokes, out there measuring. And I agree, we might need to come to that.
Yeah.
But I just want to get this one off the book that we didn't know existed till the other day.
Yeah.
That's fine, I'm with you on that, but I think we need to be careful that we don't.
Well, I do
off the books
too.
And then find us
Is this second
opening a
reading?
can of worms.
Yes.
The second
Okay,
reading.
this is second reading. All right.
Right.
Give us 2 weeks to amend it.
Well, there's an amendment. Is there a second?
Well, I withdraw my
Oh,
amendment.
okay.
I'll give you 2 weeks, and then I'll bring it up again. Third
All right.
reading.
So we're back to 3082, which is
understand what I'm
to
saying?
I do not, I do.
remove
understand what
this
I'm
one section off. Any more discussion? All in favor then of second reading of ordinance 1727, do so with show of hands. Next is first reading of ordinance 1728, which is the fireworks ordinance. And right now, is it on the thing? Oh. What is up, well, let's just get a first and second, and then we can discuss it. So is there a motion for first reading?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
And I guess everybody can read it up there. So it's banned except for July 4th, the preceding Saturday of July 4th, and then December 31st and January 1st, those hours there. Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Well, the other ordinance did not specify December 31st, January 1st, so it was kind of strange that you could start shooting at one time and then the clock have to turn back.
Yeah.
So,
When
and
was
we-
that ordinance developed?
when was that ordinance?
Yes.
I can't remember.
It was amended in 2000 something, 4,
Yeah,
5, or
'cause we-
6.
We amended it.
But
He and I.
originally it was
And we
proposed.
thought it was only 2 days.
Yeah.
I thought we.
Well, it was kind of, I mean, it didn't make it, but the understanding was. it
Didn't your
allowed-
attorney advise you at that time that kind of messed up?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is not a ban on fireworks completely. 2 major holidays, July 4th, Independence Day for this country, and celebrating a new year. Now, some people said last time that I work and I can't do this, celebrate with my children during the weekday. So that's why it says July the 4th and the preceding Saturday between the hours of 7 p.m. and 12 midnight. December 31st between the hours of 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. on January 1st. That should give you enough time to shoot up a bunch of money.
I think this is because of some of the problems we've had, and I don't think it's an overreaction. However, it's the first reading.
Yep.
If somebody wants to add holidays or add further occasions, then perhaps we could do that. But I do think it's a good starting place.
But just to shoot fireworks off because I got a raise today. Let's go
Yeah.
shoot some mortars
The mortars, yeah.
or get some artillery round simulators.
Yeah.
Those will really rock your house.
In a residential neighborhood, I think this is appropriate, and we can add days as they come up or as we set, but I think we ought to start here. Okay, your turn.
Well, I'm seeing a real change in what I have seen in my neighborhood, and I think we have to, as a community, take a double check here, because my wife and I loved this area because people worried about other people first before they worried about themselves. And I'm not seeing that in a lot of times now. I'm not seeing it's almost, and I hate to use this expression, but I think it works. It's the right one here. Hooray for me and the hell with you. That's what I'm seeing a lot, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's not what I understood the South to be. It's not what I understood it to be.
Wasn't that way growing up either.
In the North, yeah. Yeah, but not here.
You're right. The South shouldn't be that way.
You want to say?
Yeah, you done?
Yes, sir.
You know, again, with the blanket ordinances that apply to the entire town because of one particular street, one particular family fighting, one particular Hatfield-McCoy's, this is my right, this is what I'm going to do, is not the way to pass ordinances and laws in this town, okay? Yes, there's a guy that wants to shoot fireworks off every day, and guess what? It's his right to do that in the state of South Carolina because it's not illegal to shoot fireworks off every day. Is it illegal? Is it annoying? Yes. Is it bothersome? Probably. And is it disrespectful to your neighbor who might want to go to work on Tuesday morning and not hear fireworks until midnight or whatever? Yeah, of course it is. But it's still his right to fire fireworks off every day of the week if that's what he chooses to do.
Today, it's his right.
Today, right. Now, in our town, we have neighborhoods that, you know, they celebrate fireworks, you know, normally, I guess, and they don't use the big mortars and the things that are really loud. They just use some bottle rockets that pop off and make noise, and then they go home. But you have some people that really get into this thing that I'm learning that shoot these rockets, these fireworks off that are probably dynamite. Probably could be used as, just to break things down. It's loud. It's explosive. It's powerful. And I don't know the difference between a mortar and a M80 or a bottle rocket. I don't know what the differences are, but there is a difference. I think that we have a situation here where, people on one road, Parlock Road, are firing fireworks off every day because it's their right to do it, because they like to do it, because they want to do it. And I think the people around them are getting annoyed because they're doing it every day. I think there's two things that need to happen. The fireworks need to be controlled, such as we have a certain time frame that you can fire the fireworks off. Let's say on any days that you want to fire them off before 9:30 at night or something like that, or 10 o'clock, or some distinct time. And then you have these special holidays like the July 4th and New Year's Eve, which may go until 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. Certainly those are days that would be special to the ordinance. But also we might come up with some other days. Like you said, Mrs. Condon, that, you might, I don't know.
There might be other holidays.
We just had
Might be
Labor
other
Day.
ones. Right. So, but the deal is, I think we have laws on the books now that handle this. And we just have to define those laws and make sure that the laws are defined and being enforced by IPD. In other words, take it for granted, let's say our ordinance says that you can't shoot fireworks after 9:30 at night, on any other night except for those special days. Well, at 9:31, IPD gets a phone call, and they go out, and guess what? That disturbing the peace ordinance or our noise ordinance kicks in, and they start writing tickets for that. That's $1,000 tickets for that too, I believe, for those noise ordinances. IPD is doing their job. They're not going to catch everybody doing it, but IPD is called. They come out and investigate, and they find out who's shooting fireworks off. But that's a law we have on the books now that we can enforce now. Now, as far as somebody wanting to shoot fireworks every night at 8 o'clock, guys, you don't want to get into the situation where it says, in our town, you can't shoot fireworks off after any other day except for those special days, but I can go across the street. In other words, I can go over to a house across the street in Murraywood that's not in the town of Irmo, and I can shoot those fireworks off every day because it's an unincorporated county. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Unincorporated county does not follow under our specific laws. And I think we just annexed a lady on
Waterwood.
Well, Waterwood over there. She doesn't live in the town, but she lives right next to somebody who lives in the town. And if she wanted to be real arrogant and start, well, before I get that third reading, I'm going to fire off fireworks tonight. Because guess what? I don't live in the town of Irmo, and I can do it, and nobody can come and say anything to me about it. Is that going to disturb the people in that neighborhood? Sure it will.
Yep.
I think we need more limitations than that.
I agree, we do, but we have the laws on the books now. We have the ordinances, the noise ordinances that I think should kick in. And if they don't kick in, we need to strengthen them so that they do kick in. The noise ordinance should take over at that point. If we say that you can't shoot fireworks, or you don't want us to shoot fireworks after 9:30 at night, on any night except for those special days, then at 9:31 the noise ordinance should kick in. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. I mean, the noise ordinance is strong enough to take over, right? Okay, so I think I'm going down the right track. We should be able to say, hey, if the limit is 9:30 at night on any night, except for those special days, and at 9:31 somebody's shooting fireworks off, IPD has the right to go out and handle it.
Okay, my objection is
And if the people
on
gone
any
inside,
night,
what are they going to do?
that you shoot them on any night until 9. Why? on Monday and Tuesday night, what do you need to shoot fireworks for?
Because it's
The
their
people
right
have
to do
pets,
it. Because
people
it's their
have,
right, it's their right to do it.
well,
It's
I
not
don't-
against the law in South Carolina to shoot fireworks off.
It's against the law in a lot of towns and a lot of municipalities.
It is,
And it's allowed in Irmo because Irmo passed it years ago.
In residential neighborhoods, it needs to be restricted for the consideration of others.
Yes.
And I understand that, and I understand the need for that. But please, I am not about creating a townwide HOA where there is none.
This isn't
This is HOA stuff.
Well, it's HOA, but it's also
Yeah, it is.
safety and consideration.
But
and-
you can't legislate morality.
No, you can't.
and consideration.
But I know of a lot of people with little dogs that they have to give pills to.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because
I mean, you
because
got-
of mortars going.
Yeah, I heard
I
about
think it's a good first reading.
You got people
You
with
want to
kids.
change it, we can.
You got senior citizens.
Yeah.
You got
PTSD.
dogs and animals and stuff.
Wait, I'm a senior citizen. I
and
don't have a problem with it.
We're all not.
As far as my understanding
He's
too,
not
and
a
I could
senior
be
citizen.
100% wrong on this
He's
too,
younger than
Chief,
I am.
but if we go right up somebody with a noise ordinance and they go to court
When I was
and they
40.
say it wasn't that loud and we say it was, how do we resolve that?
We, good night, sorry. I didn't even start on me, sorry.
Speak up,
This
Chief.
thing is strong, right? We did issue a noise ordinance ticket before 10 o'clock at night. So the mortars were allowed, okay? They do fall under our noise ordinance. I think we can, it's like a muffler, guys. I mean, mufflers are legal on a car, but if you go out and buy a particular muffler and put it in your car, it becomes illegal. So I think we have to, we can take each case individually. Someone's out there shooting bottle rockets at 9 o'clock at night. You might not even hear them because you're watching football, the Gamecocks winning another game. But
That they
I had
weren't
to throw
supposed
that
to
in there,
win.
sorry. But, but if someone's outside shooting mortars like you guys were describing and what our officers witnessed, we issued 2 tickets before they were allowed. Someone's allowed to go shoot fireworks before 10 o'clock. But these tickets that were written, they were before 10 o'clock at night because it's a violation of the noise ordinance. You can play a radio at your house. You can't play a huge radio. You can have a band at your house, but you can't have Motley Crue out there. I don't know if anybody knows who that. Well, I know. I'm just saying.
But
So there are some things that we.
But let
can
me
do,
ask
right?
this: if you go to court and they have an attorney and they argue the point, what's going to happen?
Well, hey, court. It's
So-
that's a.
Anything can happen.
I mean, we could have the best case in the world.
We don't have a decibel. We don't have a thing. We don't. I mean, that's
Bob
leaving it
has
up to, and that court's what, 6 months down the road?
Depending on if he has for jury trial and all that. But I mean, we issued 2 tickets under the noise ordinance before 10 o'clock, and that gentleman is going to come to court. That's all we can do.
And I will be there.
Yeah, but I mean, there are dogs that bark loud, right? There are dogs that don't bark loud. So, I mean, right. But we can address the issues as they approach us with citizens getting involved as well, because I don't live on Parlock. I mean, I'm sorry to say, I wish I did.
But-
I know, I came out and saw y'all, I know. But,
If If this is passed as it is, I mean, even with this right here, the noise ordinance still is in effect for the mortars or whatever you call it or whatever.
yes.
All we're doing is allowing certain dates and not allowing certain days. The noise ordinance would still be,
The noise
there.
ordinance is still in effect.
Yeah.
Yes, all the time.
um,
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
hard
so-
thing.
all right,
So you're
let's,
saying-
no, we're gonna
So you're
keep it
saying
up here.
The noise ordinance is in effect that I was
Always.
talking about. But you're saying that you can only shoot fireworks on July 4th,
The
And New
Saturday
Year's Eve.
before,
31st, New Year's Eve, basically.
Now, we can amend that.
Right.
We can amend that,
Right.
but I wouldn't recommend doing it tonight because I'm tired.
I understand. I'm with
And-
you. I'm tired too. Tired of arguing.
I'm tired too. Well, this is a start, and I think we need some restrictions for the sake of neighbors. And I think if we start here, then we can change it whatever way everybody wants to
because
do.
basically all we're saying is, you can't shoot them any day other than those 3 days right now, and whatever. But the loud
Okay,
stuff
so
still
it's a
applies.
Starting point, and it can be amended on the second reading or what?
Yep.
It can be amended.
Right.
I call the question.
All right, well, let's
Let's just
vote.
all I agree, let's go vote.
Let me find it. 1728, first reading, all in favor, as it is written here, do so with show of hands. All opposed? You're opposed or for?
My hand's up for what?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Opposed, right?
All right. All right, next is first reading of 1729, which is the animal thing from, nope.
Yeah?
Yes, it is.
1729 is the animal ordinance change from Lexington County.
Okay, I have a question.
Well, let's get is there a motion for first reading?
So moved.
And I second.
All right.
Okay, this is not to kill the cats, but to spay or neuter, right?
That's correct,
Okay, and this is Lexington County?
yes.
Lexington County passed an ordinance
Yep,
a couple
I got it.
months ago that they're not picking up cats anymore.
Yeah,
You
they're-
can call and take them to
They're
wherever.
not killing
but
cats.
They're not.
But they will pick them up and do the surgery and put them, and have them adopted.
I
Well,
don't think they'll pick them up.
it's set up as a catch and release program, but if they catch or they go out and get a litter or a cat that's been injured or an older cat, then they won't release them back out. They'll try to find a home for it.
Yeah.
But the majority of the cats that they're accepting over at Palmetto Pets is going to be a catch and release. They're going to catch them, fix them,
And release 'em.
have them released back where
This
they
is only Lexington
found at.
County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Richland-
good. I mean, I
agree.
think it's humane.
So the cat, so if Mo made it over to Richland County, he'd be safe.
Mm.
I mean, basically, okay. Wow.
So, all in favor then of 1729, do so with show of hands.
Oh, Lord, it's unanimous. Hallelujah.
And
This is low.
next item
As long as
is
Mo gets over to Richland County before it's too late.
item C, an approval of a resolution 1703. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
There's a second, so I can ask a question.
So you're second?
Yeah, and because I'm doing it to ask a question.
All right.
Can I ask
Any
a question?
discussion? Well,
It might end it. What? Okay.
Okay, I'm-
The question is of our attorney. Do we need this? Because we're governed by the United States Code, the state
Amongst many
code,
other codes.
the everything, right?
Amongst many other laws that you're governed by, the Constitution, federal laws, the ADA, the HUD promulgated regulations, et cetera, you're governed by all of them.
Okay, so why are you doing this?
Because it specifically asks us as an ADA, as a part of the ADA laws, that we would set up a committee or a commission that will help us negotiate through some of the problems that we've had with citizens wanting ADA compliant stuff, instead of us leaving it to the council.
well, that's not 100% true either.
That's 100% true. A citizen
Because the advisory
commission,
committee, according to the stuff that's in the book, is only going to do with if somebody wants to rent a house or buy a house or whatever, and they're discriminated against because whoever owns the home doesn't want to make it ADA compliance and all like that. It wouldn't address any of the other issues we had. And then this thing also says the commission will not be limited to issues of disabled, but can act in advisory roles to any citizen who feels agreed by actions or policy. That's what council's supposed to do. And that's what the ZBA and planning and everybody else does.
but we don't have that policy now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We
we
have the
do.
ADA policy already in our books.
But this saying we'll set up a citizens advisory committee to help us govern through that.
That's what you're elected to do.
So you're saying that you don't want an outside citizens advisory committee?
I'm saying that you can do your job, I can do my job, they can do their job, because they can't address what you want to address.
Sure they can.
No, they can't address ZBA stuff, they can't address zoning, they can't address none of that.
We're talking about ADA compliance.
But they can't address zoning with ADA compliance or nothing. All they can address is somebody wants to rent a house
So we're saying.
or a business doesn't want to put in stuff,
no,
that's all they can address.
Let's not confuse the matters, Mayor.
Well, you're already confused it.
This is a resolution adopting the policy, the following policy.
We've already adopted those
We-
policies.
Y'all haven't put it up on, did you put it up?
It's right.
Did you put it up on the board?
A, c-
1703.
a citizens advisory wouldn't have any legal standing.
And we've had one issue in, I don't know, since 2003 or
Folks,
something.
they don't have a copy so everybody can see what we're talking about.
We don't
So I
either.
have to, I mean, basically what I'm asking for is the town to adopt a resolution of a policy that says that we will basically adopt and publish grievance procedures to assure prompt and equitable resolution of complaints to resolve promptly any possible problems, complaints, or conflicts related to the town's American
Right.
Disability Act.
And all those things are handled by the ZBA and planning and us
Without the
as a
need of
council.
The complainant to resort to remedies available under law, which means getting a lawyer and sue us and all that stuff.
Well,
A citizens advisory committee is what I'm proposing. We put together would handle these complaints and try to resolve them, so that.
what complaint have we had that you're trying to resolve?
See, now you're interrupting me. I'm trying to read it so.
I'm just
people
wondering.
understand what we're talking about.
Which issue are you trying to resolve?
Whatever issue may possibly come up.
Okay, well, when one comes up, I think it can come to council and we can do it. If it's a zoning issue, it's gonna go to the
I didn't say
ZBA.
anything about zoning here. Did you hear me say anything about
Yeah.
zoning? This is a town.
What other issues would come up?
I think you're opening us up for liability here.
No. This is taking the complainants and going through that route, going to the Citizens Advisory Committee and having them try to resolve the issue without having the citizen to hire a lawyer and go through that whole process of getting a lawyer
But
to sue us.
but you're
They have-
circumventing ZBA
Yeah.
and us.
Planning,
Circumventing-
town
Sure you are.
council, and everybody.
It's come,
Yeah.
okay, well.
I'm ready to call the question.
All right.
I'm calling a question. It's either you're gonna adopt it or not.
Well, let's vote then. He called the question.
I'm ready.
All in favor then of the approval of the resolution 1703, do so with show of hands. All opposed?
And the next time I have a resolution, I would like to be posted on our system that we paid 15 grand for. I don't care how it didn't happen.
All right,
So everybody can see what we're talking about. I mean, we do everything else. Why don't we put that on there too?
well, I don't think a resolution has to be on there until it's adopted anyway. But
Well, the
I'm not
people
gonna address that. We're gonna move
Talk
on.
about it and you don't even know what we're talking about.
Next is an approval for an advisory referendum to add question, should the town of Irmo allow residents to store and raise chickens, yes or no, to the 11-17-17 ballot? Is there approval for a advisory referendum?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Discussion.
The question that you wanted to bring up, Mayor, about chickens since it's election year is a good question because it's a two-part question. The first question is, do we want to allow people to have chickens in the town? And the second part of the question is, how do we want to allow them to do it? In other words, how many hens, how many roosters, if we want them, how big the pen's going to be, where it's going to be located? That's the second part of the question. But before we get into the detail of actual ordinance, I wanted to know what is the will of the people that come out to vote? The people that takes the time to come out to our 11-7 election to elect new council people. What do they really feel that the town should have? Should they have chickens or not? Should we even allow people to have chickens or not? And it's a yes or no question because before we get into the second part of that question, which is the actual detail of the ordinance, I want to know, is it the will of the people to do it or not? It's a yes or no question. And that's what I want to put on the referendum. And the reason why I wanted to put it on the referendum, on the ballot, is because we've had polls taken by the Irmo News, and you're absolutely right, Mayor. We don't know if it's people that live in the town are voting on these polls. We don't know. But I can guarantee you that everybody votes in our election is a resident of Irmo and has a voice in that decision. So that's a great way at the time, since we have this election coming up, for us to have that question answered. And if the answer is yes, then we go to the next step, which is the actual detail of the ordinance. If we want to, it's just a referendum. and
If you
final.
want to. So in other words,
The
you're
answer
admitting
is
that,
no. Well,
that you may not vote for it after all.
If the answer is yes, and we don't do it, guess what? I think your job might be in jeopardy, okay? Because
That's
I'm
fine.
going to listen to what
That's fine.
people say. But if the answer is no, then the answer is no. We don't have to go to the next step. We don't have to go any further.
Why can't you just tell us right now where you stand and we'll put it on the agenda next week? How about that? You want chickens or not?
Because I don't think the five of us should be determining what 13,000 people should be doing.
So you think 300 or 400 that vote?
Yeah,
Yes, would?
absolutely. Because
That's
they
not the
bother to come
majority.
out to the election.
They're not the
Absolutely,
majority.
I do. They come out to the election. They bother to participate.
There's one thing that's important here to me. I know everything's important to different people, but we don't give people input very often. And because this question affects...
You don't what?
We don't give people input very often. Unless they come here and speak to us, or
We got emails, we got cell phones. I got my shop in there all the time. Maybe you don't, but I think we do.
If you ask, I do too.
Well,
But
then I think we do.
hear from a certain few. I have learned of late, there's a lot more people in this town than the ones I hear from.
Well, I agree.
And I think they want input into this question. We don't do this often.
No.
We don't do referendums. But since it affects every neighborhood, every home, everybody in town, I think they deserve input.
Why don't we just vote on it? Put it on the agenda and vote on it.
Why wouldn't we let them vote on it first?
Why wouldn't you vote on it?
I will.
You want to vote for it?
I
Or chicken?
probably would,
Rooster?
but I would have to do my polling myself to see what I think. But I've told people I'll go with the majority.
Well, how are you going to determine that if only 800 people out of 13,000 vote?
Party, the 800 people are the ones that bother to
Yeah.
participate. Those are the electors. Those are the ones that voted you in as mayor of Irmo.
Can I?
That may be true, but that ain't the majority of people.
Okay, so the majority of people don't want you as mayor, so we're going to ignore the 45 that voted for you.
No,
Say,
I'm just
okay.
saying that 800 people,
All right,
400 of
well,
those
we'll
aren't
ignore
majority.
it. We'll ignore it. We'll have a.
Well, then put it on the agenda and vote on it.
I'd rather
Do
let
what
the- I'd
you
rather
think
let-
is
I'd rather
best.
let, I'd rather let the 1,000 people, there's 8,000 people, electorates out there that vote in an election. I want them to tell me what to do. And what
You
they
always
feel.
told me to encourage people to vote. This would
I wish they
encourage
would.
people to vote. Well, this would.
Well, let's
would
put the
probably
other
do
stuff
it.
on there too. Let's put the parking in the grass, let's put the fireworks, let's
No.
put everything in the world on there.
Well, let's
We
do
only
one thing
need
at a
one
time.
question. Don't
Oh,
push
yeah,
it.
one thing at a time.
I don't mind doing that either.
Can I?
One thing at a time.
Sure.
Can I chime in? All right.
Yes.
I don't think it's as simple as a yes or no.
I don't think it is either.
And I'll tell you why it's not. Because you say, all right, do I want chickens? Well, someone in my neighborhood's going to say, I don't want 10 chickens. 3 would be fine, but I don't want 10 chickens.
Okay, but that's the second part of the question.
No.
The first part of the question is do you
No,
want
I think they want it defined. I think they want it defined.
But it's a two-part question. The first part is, do you want to even bother looking at how many chickens?
We already know that.
That's
It's
not
been
how.
brought to us
That's
2 or
not
3
how
different times.
people.
Yeah, we do.
Normally, what I get is, well, it depends. Right, it depends on what. Well, I don't want 20 chickens beside me.
Right.
I want 3 chickens beside me. Or you know what? I don't want chickens at all.
Then your vote would be yes to have chickens then.
My vote.
Would
I voted for. I supported it the last time. You didn't.
Right, so
You didn't.
Your vote would be yes, I'd like to have chickens. And then we get into the next part of the question.
But
Let's decide that and get it done all up
But
front.
most of the people that I've talked to said it depends.
Okay,
It's not that no, they're not saying
It depends after we've decided whether or not we want to do it or not.
no, because what they're saying is if you ever voted, Councilman Walker, if you ever voted for 20, I wouldn't want that. That's why I'm
All we're
saying.
doing
But
is
you'd vote for
is
one.
not answering the question and
You'd vote for
avoiding
one.
it and putting it off until later and then saying,
No,
well,
no,
I'm
no.
not for
Look, we've deferred a couple of things tonight for the benefit of some. We've put off things. So, no, I don't think that's true. And
I think it is.
and I certainly understand deferring, I understand, and nobody said a word. So I don't see anything wrong with this. I think it's a good idea myself.
Well,
I don't know whether it would work, but it might give us
I think
an
you're going
idea.
to end up with a bunch of people afterwards, no matter what, who are going to turn around and say, well, I'm not going to vote for chickens. I want roosters. I'd vote for roosters. I like to hear a rooster. I'd rather hear a rooster than have chicken eggs. But that's
you
me.
vote yes for chickens. Then.
No, I'd vote no, but I'd vote yes for roosters.
Isn't a rooster?
And that's not on the thing.
Is a rooster a chicken?
Not really, no.
Not a chicken.
It's a male chicken, but it's a different.
It's not a
And
pullet.
all these people that
It's
say,
not a pullet.
all these people
a
that
pull
say,
out.
yes, we want chickens, then they're
It's
going
not
to come
pull out,
back and
pull-
say,
pull
well,
it.
we want chickens with limitations, with rules, and no can't this, and only
Again-
4 and only
again,
5.
That's
And
the second part of the question after we determine
No.
whether or not we want to have.
I think you
them or
need to
not.
put the question out there with
It's a
everything in
simple
the world
question.
under it.
It's a simple yes or no
Well,
question.
put it out on
Do
your
you want
Facebook
chickens or
page
not?
and ask people.
If the answer is no, ball game over. We don't have to talk about it.
Well, I think you can make an.
The answer is yes. Okay, now.
Well,
we
I'll
can
just put
talk
something
about
on
it.
our
We have to
next
get the
agenda.
Well, let's just vote.
Let's put something on the next agenda. That's what I'm gonna do. That allows 4 chickens per yard, whatever.
No, I'm talking about putting this on the referendum.
You know, but I'm talking about putting it on next week's agenda.
No, this has
Yeah,
to
I
be
am.
done
I'm gonna
tonight.
put it on there. We can vote for it or not. I don't care.
Vote for it. I don't care.
Okay.
I might not be here. Who knows?
Let's vote for this.
All right, so we're back to approval for advisory. And by the way, let me just
We know.
state something
have
here.
We know.
We have a weigh-in here.
We know. It's advisory.
One quick thing,
No, we're gonna allow it. We're gonna allow it. That's what's on the agenda. That's what we're gonna vote on.
it says resident.
I know. Houses can vote, people can't. That's what we're voting on.
It should say resident.
Resident.
Nope, right now it says houses.
Resident is a
So
person. A
houses
residence is
can
a house.
vote.
Okay, let's.
People can't. Approval for advisory referendum to add questions, should the
Resident.
town of Irmo allow residents' homes
That's
to store and raise chickens, yes or no? All in favor?
We have to make a motion
What the
to
attorney
fix
was
that.
saying was this is great.
Okay, that might not but have been your mistake. You didn't type this up.
I didn't type it up. I
They
didn't
gave it to Bob, Bob put it on there just like it's. It's on that Facebook page too, just like that.
T in there.
No, it's got an E-N-C-E.
Bob, you should have changed it.
Houses, houses.
You can't
Houses.
do that. You can't.
It was turned over that way.
My house is gonna vote.
Yep, your house can vote, but you can't. So that's good.
My house is old enough to
So
vote.
it's resident. So that should say T instead of a E.
It says E-N-C. Let's go for that. We gotta pick up our house and move it down there and throw it in the door and somehow or another let it go in and
Well,
vote.
let's overlook that vote.
Resident.
I think we ought to overlook and go with the spirit
All right.
of things here.
Moving on.
We're gonna change that to a T.
TS.
Yes. All right, so the approval for advisory, all in favor, do so with show of hands.
Wow.
3.
So, all in favor?
3.
4.
All opposed?
4. Is it 4 or 3?
4.
So is it
Four.
4? You vote
I voted for it.
just for this simple
Hot
question?
darn, we got 4 votes. We're
Okay.
doing good here.
All righty.
All right, so let me get this straight. Now we're gonna have resident. Not dense.
Yeah, the house
Is that right? Bob, we got that right? So we can forward that to the election commission? Resident.
Gotta give it to them tomorrow.
Thank you.
Next is an approval of a intergovernmental agreement with the Richland
Yeah, so
County
moved,
to
I vote.
accept the town's CD waste at $7.95 a ton. Is there a motion for approval?
I so move.
A second.
Second.
Now, this has not been approved by Richland County. We'll be approving it, sending it to them, and they can change it or turn it down or whatever. So it's not a guarantee.
But we have to do it. Got it.
We're gonna start with it and ask, and
I
then
understand.
they may come back at
Okay, let's
something
vote.
different. Any questions, any discussion?
No, we ain't got any questions.
And all in favor then of the intergovernmental agreement with Richland County at $7.95 a ton for yard trays to be taken over to their place, do so with show of hands. Any opposed? All right. Whoop,
I do have an amendment to
Okay.
the agenda. Yeah, I do.
you can't, it's too late.
I do. After the presentation by citizens, we need to adjourn.
Well, I think we need to discuss this stuff that's on there.
I think we
and-
need to discuss it, but
Can
then we
do it
shouldn't
next
have
meeting? Can we
14.
do it next meeting?
We're gonna have.
No, I got some questions on backyard
There are
chickens, 'cause I'm gonna
people-
put an ordinance on the books next
There are
meeting.
people up here who
All right,
have
well,
to get up like
They
at
want
5 in the
They want
morning.
to speak, let's move on with that.
Presentation by citizens. Anyone who would like to address council?
On anything.
He's got on the
On
right,
anything.
he's got on the right shirt.
Anything. Oh my goodness. Gamecock country.
Hello, my name is Brandon Gillian at St. Albans Court. So my question is, several of you reference people that talk to y'all and are for what you're proposing, but we have to come and say what we're against. So why do those same people not have to put their name out here?
Huh?
So like Hardy, he said, well, people come to my shop and talk to me. Well, those people aren't coming here to let the people hear that they are for or against whatever he's proposing. But you have to bring us out here to vote to say,
No.
yes, we want to support
Let
that.
me just say, we didn't, y'all came on your own fruition, if people want to email us, if people want to call us, if people want to knock on our doors, if people want to come to our home, they have every right to contact us. We got 3 or 4 emails up here of people that said they couldn't be here, but they wanted to speak, so they did. But that's good. I've been knocking on doors since 2003, and I hear a lot from people knocking on doors, and I remember what they say. That's it. That's their voice.
It just doesn't feel like our voices that come here get heard.
Well, I think
but
y'all
you are.
have been hurt.
There are 2 council members that do and that listen, but the rest of y'all, it feels like you're voting from your heart, not the people. And I don't think that's right.
Well, everybody
But
has their
election's
own-
coming up. The 2
One
people
vote.
will
I
give
got
it back.
1 vote, and she's got 1 vote.
Next.
I decided not to speak again because you people make my blood pressure go up. With the exception of
Yours.
Kathy and Barry.
Mine's about 300 right now.
But I'm going to speak again because you're not going to shut me up anytime soon. So, Mark, here's my question to you. Why are you, what was the word you used? What don't you understand about people not caring about other people these days? Y'all taught them how to not care about other people. You just passed a parking ordinance that did nothing different except say, you can park wherever you need to as long as the king approves it. Basically. Because nobody in this room is stupid. He's their boss. He's chief's boss. You can give me dirty looks all you want to. Please.
I'm not giving you dirty
Go vote
looks,
with him
Brandy. I'm not
every
doing
single
that.
time. It's the king and his court gestures. And the 2 people who listen
All right,
to us
that's
are
not true, and we're not going to get into all that. If you want to address
you get
council,
to, no,
fine.
you
but-
get to
yeah.
attack Barry every single meeting. You attack Barry and Kathy on your website. Every
I do.
single post you make.
I do.
You say you listen to people. It took you 4 days to read my email, and you wouldn't have read it if I hadn't have posted on your silly Facebook page. There's 58 people in your page, Mayor.
I don't care.
I'm not done talking. You're not allowed to. Is he allowed to interrupt me, Chief?
Well,
Nope.
Yes.
I don't think you are. So let me continue. The Citizens of Irmo Facebook page has addressed every single one of you. You know who answers us? Kathy and Barry. So for you to say
I
that
beg
you're
your
going,
pardon, I do too, dear.
not really. No, you don't. I think that Brandon, sitting right back there, specifically asked you how we could change your vote on the parking ordinance, and you did not respond. So
When did
please,
he write the, when did he put it on
don't
there?
stand there and lie. because
When did he
you
put
have-
it on there? I check it every day when I'm home.
About 4 days ago.
All right, 4 days ago, I
Okay.
was in Memphis, Tennessee, visiting
Again, you're
my
interrupting me.
grandchildren and my.
You're interrupting me. Isn't that an ordinance? Isn't that what the chief
You
told
asked
me?
the question.
You have to be respectful of me, too.
You asked the question.
So I'm not done. Anyway,
You got to ignore him.
you passed an ordinance tonight, like I said,
That's my request.
that you knew the people did not want.
You,
Shame on
the,
you.
the people here.
And who got up here and said they
Wait a
wanted
minute.
it?
I have been told by
By who?
countless citizens they're not
Who?
going to speak because of retribution, fear of
okay.
retribution.
Okay. That's absurd.
It's not absurd.
If we can come out here and speak, they can certainly come out
It is not absurd.
No one in this
Why
room has
don't
gotten
we
death
want?
threats.
Why don't we want addresses to be put in the
Do
public
you
record.
want me to honestly answer that? Let me answer that. And Chief, I mean no disrespect, or you either, officer. But I'll tell you why we don't want our addresses out. Because every single abatement notice that was given the last 2 weeks has been given to members of the citizen page. That's why we don't want our address put out. You want to know something else? And I really mean no disrespect. I really don't. He's your boss. I get it. But a neighbor of mine whose grass was 4 inches.
Actually,
I have
Bob
the
is the
picture to
chief's
prove it.
boss.
I'm not finished, Mayor.
Bob works for
I
us,
have the
the
picture
chief
to
doesn't.
prove it. 4 inches. But yet he has grass at his business that's 12 inches tall. Did he get an abatement notice? No, he did not. Y'all can defend it's a commercial property. I'm pretty sure when there's a residence sitting on a commercial property that it needs to be rezoned to be residential. I'm sick of the excuses. I am so sick of it. This town is a freaking embarrassment now. Y'all are embarrassing. He is embarrassing. Y'all are unprofessional. You're unethical. You do things that are illegal. And then you want to stand up here and talk about how you don't want us to get to vote. This is our town. You were put up here to be our voice. We have 2 voices, and that's all we have.
I am the voice of the people.
And the new council,
People will put me
sweetheart,
in.
the new council, you're looking at them. They're not going anywhere. It don't matter how much you
We'll see.
talk about the ones that you want, and he posts all over his Facebook page about how they're going to come. We will see. I'm pretty sure that we have the Facebook page about to hit 1,000 members.
Fine.
So when election time does come up, the new council, and that's when the 3 of you can be gotten rid of, will actually make Irmo a better place
You're
to
right.
live.
That's your right.
Now, the issue in this town is not fireworks, it's not parking, it's not any of that. It's respect. It's the fact that y'all have taken away our rights, so now everyone's sensitive. I'll shoot fireworks whenever I want to. I'll park wherever I want to. I'll do whatever I want to because y'all have taken everyone's rights away. We would be much more respectful to each other. There would not be fighting. We wouldn't have to come up here and sit till 11 o'clock every night and waste our breath because you're sure not listening.
Thank you.
Hey again.
Hey there.
Hey, who are
Nice
you?
to be back.
What's your name again?
Mr. Gresham.
John
Hey,
Gresham.
Julius. John Gresham. I'm at Parlock Road. Y'all all know me by now.
J-
We go way back.
The author. Just think of the author.
That's right. Gresham.
Just a couple of points. First of all, Councilman Pouliot, Poulat, tomato. I'm inclined to agree with you on the slummy look. I've lived in Irmo, Friarsgate specifically, for 35 years. I'm from here. This is my home. The house next door to the home that I own belongs to former Mayor Heiser. You want to talk about a slum? That house is trash.
Former mayor who?
Heiser,
Oh,
Heiser,
got it. Okay, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
preceding Gibbons.
Got it.
Derelict vehicles, the yard's garbage. I mean, there are places, I have to agree, that, I'm not proud to live next door to. Drives my property value down. I live next door or own the home next door to a rental property. It's not bad, but when it's empty, grass gets high, it doesn't look pretty. This is an issue. I recognize where y'all are coming from on the parking issue, and I accept and respect those reasons, property values, things like that. I just think that, while you may have been on the right track, poorly executed. It's cool. There's another meeting, and we can move forward from that. On the issue of fireworks, Councilman Walker specifically, would you be all right with me coming to your house and shooting off fireworks every damn night?
Of course not.
Nope, we've heard all we need to hear. You're okay with it. You're okay with it.
He sounds okay with it.
You just said, of course not.
Of course not. I would not enjoy you doing that.
Okay, but it's my right.
That's my point. It's your right to do that, but I wouldn't like you to do that. You know what I would do? I'd go and I'd talk to you and say, hey, listen, I would be here.
I've done that 3 times as a matter of record.
Then I call IPD and say, hey.
You know what I did, Councilman? I came to City Council to have it, or Town Council to have it addressed. I recognize where you're coming from. And again, I respect that. I think you're on the wrong track, and I sincerely hope you reconsider, respectfully.
We got 2 more readings to change.
I understand that, and I do sincerely hope you change your mind. And I'll be vocal about it because, frankly, I have a 4-year-old son that was woken up the other night at 9:58. I was woken up the other night at 9:58. And to get my son to school at time, I've got to be up at 6. Again, I'm sure you've heard it plenty tonight. I'm the one that had Saturn missiles in his trash can at 2 a.m. This is a personal issue to me. Please take it as such. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm actually one of the people that you got an email from this morning, and there are people that did email these people because they are afraid of retribution. I live next door to to John now.
Your name, ma'am?
Jody Spillane. Yeah, we spoke last time.
Mickey
right after.
Spillane.
Yeah.
Mickey Spillane, yeah.
I sent you an email today.
After, after John's and his parents' trash can was blown up or had fireworks in it, I was afraid of retribution. I did not want to go in front of y'all and read that off again, because I'm sorry, the people that we think may not have been, but could have possibly been the ones doing it, were in the audience, and I really didn't want them to know about that. So there are people who are afraid. The main reason I got up here, because I didn't really want to talk about fireworks, is we get an agenda. It really, really would be nice if we could actually get the full amount of what you guys get to read before coming here, so you don't have to sit here and explain to us what Ordinance 1720 is.
We're working on that.
I mean, that's so I'm giving you a plug. Please do that, just because I'm a librarian. I like to be informed. Just don't put me in front of the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are working on that.
Good evening again.
Hello.
Hello. First, I request that we go back to no sign-up sheets to talk because I actually wanted to speak on the chicken before it was voted on, but I wasn't able to. So, to speak on the chicken question before it was voted on.
You could have.
You had lists, and we talked about the parking, then we talked about fireworks, and you went right into
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
that
But
was
you could have, I'm sorry.
it was fine.
Anything on the agenda, Matt,
Anything
you
on
could
the
have
agenda you can speak on.
talked
Well,
about.
I asked if we were talking about this or this, and I was told this. So, yeah.
Sorry for the confusion.
Third, we're the town of Irmo. I understand that you look toward other
Municipality.
there we go, for advisement on what to do and stuff. But for one, I'm sick of hearing about them. When you go all the way to Ontario, when you go to California to pick up stuff, we're Irmo. I don't care what California's doing. I don't care what Canada's doing. I barely care what Forest Acres is doing, to be quite honest. And if you're talking about an area that is specifically HOA, I don't care at all. I moved to Friars Gate specifically because it did not have an HOA. I did not want to pay a monthly fee to be told what I could do with my property that I work for, that I pay for. And even with all the citizens who came here with the parking issue, not one person said, yes, I support it, I like it. You amended it to the exact same thing that we were trying to repeal, and you think that's okay. That's disrespectful to the people who came. I understand you may have other people who email you and stuff. Make that public knowledge. Make that us. All we got to do is file a paper, and we're going to get it anyway. Go ahead and read it off. You don't have to read off addresses, just like we don't want to give them. Read off a name. Read off, say, a citizen. But read them off so we know as well. That only seems fair. Also, to address where my figures came from with real estate, they came directly off of the MLS page. So those are exact figures up to yesterday with 2017 of the median price or the average selling price of a home with an Irmo address of $199,526.
All right. Do you know what that encompasses?
That encompasses all of Irmo. I understand that.
Right.
But my point was, you're saying this is driving values down. The data directly refutes that. So quit giving it to us. Quit saying that's a reason. The data, which is what you have to go by, is directly saying no.
No,
I understand.
no.
I understand that neighborhoods are different.
Yep.
But what you find attractive is not what I find attractive. If I go to a house and see pine straw thrown beside a driveway with 2x4s surrounding it, I'm going to say drive past that house. That's trashy. Quite frankly, no. Would not be there. And I don't think anybody here supported that either.
But if you got a foreclosure at a good deal, that would be a good value, wouldn't
Yeah, now that does drive prices down, actually. So if we're going to talk about driving prices down, it's people who buy foreclosures. I'm in that boat as well, though. But with you deferring this vote, you're passing the buck for a mess you created. This is your council. You're passing it to the next one. That's not acceptable. You were elected for a term. Finish your job. Clean up your messes. Why are you passing it because you might get new people in? I don't know if Kathy and Barry will be up there. I hope they are. I don't know for a fact they will. Clean up your messes because that's your job. Your job, you are elected. You're not hired, you're elected. Quite frankly, with the way it's going right now, if elections were held for the other three on council, you would no longer be on council. Thank you.
That's your opinion, Matt.
Hello, council.
Hey there.
Do I need to give my name and address? Yes. Yeah. Who am I? Just wanted to make some points about some of the topics that were mentioned today. Parking. You brought up the idea of using wood products in the yard for and I'm against it, by the way, the whole parking. Do you please repeal it? If you use wood products, they have a life expectancy. Pine straw, 1 year, maybe. You're going to be sending out the administrator to inspect everybody that uses those products every year to make sure that those are still up to code. That wasn't talked about. It's just you're creating a quagmire of rules. It's going to send our poor administrator out there to inspect all this stuff. I'm pretty sure he has other things that he needs to spend his time on versus just inspecting parking lots. Just an observation.
Well, treated lumber does last longer.
Are you going to make sure they're buying treated lumber? I've used treated lumber before the last less than 5 years.
All the major suppliers that sell what they call landscape timbers, the oval shape, they're treated.
So a year for pine straw, a year for wood products, and then the 5 years for the timbers. Still a lot of inspection. Fireworks. I grew up in Ohio, another Yankee, long time ago, moved down here almost 20 years ago. Ohio has a huge ban on fireworks. You can buy them, you can own them, can't light them off. In fact, when you buy them in the state, you have to sign a piece of paper that says you're not going to light them off in the state. Well, what happens? People shoot them off all the time. And no respect to you guys, but the law enforcement up there just stood at the end of the street, watched it. They enjoyed it. 4th of July came around. Skies are all lit up for the next 3 days. What happens? The local eels just watched what was going on. If somebody got hurt, they would step in and somebody would get written up for it. A band is not going to work. For any other time somebody has a celebration, you're going to see fireworks in the sky. Days before, days after 4th of July and New Year's, fireworks are going off. A ban is not going to stop that. Secondly, there's a point about the officers. I forgot what that was. You guys are doing a great job, by the way. You're doing your job. Appreciate it. Oh, and I need to talk to you after this. Hope you don't mind.
It's getting a little late.
All right, I'll call you. Can't remember what my other item was, so that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Streaming video, very good. We had almost 50 people watching it tonight on the Facebook page. Get it up there. The 30-minute thing, I don't know where that came from. I streamed till my battery died. Okay, there might be something internal to you guys then. You're right. So.
You mean you streamed that whole meeting until your battery died a few minutes ago?
Yes.
That was over 3 hours. Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
On Facebook?
Yes.
Wow.
So if they're telling you that it's an internal thing.
Wow. Put it on there, man.
I told you we did a test today. It works. It'll be our next meeting.
Our next meeting will be streamed live.
I hope so. I'll share it. Tonight, over 900 people. So.
Wow.
Hello out there in television land.
Okay, here we go.
Testing. Okay. My name is Hunter Hilly. I'm 19 years old, and I'm a proud resident of the town of Irmo.
All right, how you doing, Hunter? Good to see you, sir.
I'm going to keep this short, mostly because I'm tired, and also if I stand up here too long, I might faint. I just want to let you all know that the town that you're creating through your ordinances and everything is going to be the town that, I'm going to inherit, that my kids and my grandkids, when they finally exist, that's going to be the town that we're going to be inheriting. So I know that you guys may be thinking on a smaller scale, from term to term, but it really is, the town of Irmo is a great place to live, and I definitely, want to start a family here. Not anytime soon. Sorry, Mom. But I just want to thank you guys for, pouring your heart into serving on the council, and I just want to thank you guys for everything.
Thank you,
Thank
Hunter.
you.
Thank you.
Susan Pope again. I have another question. I'm one of the people that are against HOAs. I went through great extreme to find a home that did not have an HOA. I mean, I went to extremes. And from what I'm hearing from the majority of you, you sound like you're pro-HOA. So why did you move in an area that didn't have an HOA, and you're trying to put these HOA rules as a town ordinance? I just don't understand that.
Well, I moved here in '86, and my subdivision had an HOA, but it was not in the town of Irmo at the time. We voted in November of the year I moved to join the town of Irmo.
Okay, Susan, are you talking about the parking or the fire?
All the rules, all of these HOA rules.
Susan, you're calling them HOA rules. I don't consider them HOA rules. I get feedback not only from you, the people that are here, but also for the people who elected me.
And where are they? We're here, and we stood up here and voiced our opinion. Don't interrupt me, please. Let me finish. We stood up here and voiced our opinion at this late hour. This is like my third meeting. And you guys sat up there and reversed everything. So all of this time we spent here tonight was a waste. And I just don't understand it. And I'm code enforcement. How are you going to do your job? I mean, how is he going to determine if the cars in my yard are my guest cars or my cars? What is he going to knock on my door and say, hey, these two vehicles been here 3 days? Okay, yeah, my friends are visiting for the week. I mean, how is he going to do his job? The town is going to be turned upside down, more so than it is right now. And your role is to get our input and make decisions based on the majority. But it seems like y'all are stuck in y'all mindset about how things used to be. And that's just not good. It's just not good. It's just not good. And something else I want to say. I'm really sick of folks talking about the ghetto and whatever these words y'all using. I grew up in the projects. I'm from the hood. And people don't act like this. We don't have these kind of issues and concerns because we busy trying to go to work and pay our rent. And where I grew up, was it cars on the grass? Yeah. But my dad had us cut all the grass. We didn't go complaining to the police, oh, they didn't cut their grass. If we didn't like the empty field where the grass was growing or somebody's yard, we done it. That was the neighborly thing to do because everybody was working and living from paycheck to paycheck and happy to have food. And this whole thing is just so first world. It's just ridiculous. You know, I've been to the Philippines. People don't deal with this, have these kind of issues, you know? And you think about the storm that just hit and the one that may be coming this way. People need to reel it in. Just reel it in and realize we're all different. You would never think like me. Never. And I would never think like you. And that's fine. But when you start forcing things on me, when I went to extreme to get away from an HOA mentality, that's not right. If you like HOA, that's great. Move into an HOA community. and that's your prerogative. But it's our prerogative to live in Friars Gate or whatever, where there was no HOA. And now you guys are going to reverse that. It's just not right. And it's no need for anybody to feel threatened, so threatened they can't come up here and speak. I'm thinking y'all making these people up. Who are these people? Because I haven't met anyone who disagree with what the majority has said over and over. Who are these mysterious people that you guys are saying, oh, they calling you or coming to your house saying this? Where are they?
They're right here.
I feel sorry for you with your job.
They're right here.
Next is discussion to hire social media manager for the town of Irmo. You can defer that, and that's deferred. So, we want 4 chickens, 5 chickens, 6 chickens, or 10?
Well, since we got a referendum on the ballot, I don't think we have to worry about that right now.
Well, I'm gonna put it on next agenda. I'm gonna do 4 and roosters.
No rooster.
Nope.
It doesn't matter, it's on the people that are voting on it.
Nope, roosters. I want roosters.
People that vote on it, and he wants to.
I just want to see what y'all going to do, so before I vote for either one of y'all, I want to know where you stand. Nope, we got to do this last thing. I'm going to give y'all a copy of this. It's on your computer, too. This is our, pass one down to Mark.
Thank you.
This shows our last fiscal year, how much money was in our local government investment pool, which is where all our money goes to. And that averages $2.6 million. The next thing show what our revenue was and our expenses was, and if you take the first 10 months, July through April, we were averaging the revenue of $2,200,000 and expenses of $3,300,000. So when we start our fiscal year, we need to have about $1,200,000 or $1,400,000 in our account on that day. If you take that amount of money and subtract it from the 2.6 that we normally have in our investment pool, that leaves about 1.2 million that's actually a reserve. We don't have 3 million in reserve. We have 3 million in our checking account, or the LGIP fund, if you want to call it that, but we don't have that in our reserve. I just want to make clear that we as council understand that, so that we don't decide we got $3 million and we're going to go out and spend it when we don't. We need to keep about $1 million in our account at the beginning of the year, really probably close to $1.5 million. Anything above that, we can put in a savings account, we could spend it, we could throw it away, we could burn it, so to speak, but it's not really $3 million reserve. It's about 1.2 million in reserve, 1.4 million in reserve. Well, and there's no way to get that. Years ago, when we went from a meals of about 49 down to 18, it was easy to end up each year with about 200,000 in our account. When we're living paycheck to paycheck as a town, we got a $5 million budget. We got $5 million worth of revenue. We got $5 million worth of expenses. The amount of money that we need to cover our medical expenses and all those things are going up faster than our revenue. And we'll probably have about 40 this year, 40,000 surplus this year, maybe.
40,000? That's ballpark. I won't know until y'all
Yeah.
finish. But I mean,
So
I got you.
this just kind of gives you a snapshot of last year.
So it's going down.
We consistently do.
It's consistently going down, and it's bad.
Yeah, we have about a 40,000. We used to have 200,000. It's easy when you have a 200,000 surplus to get $1 million added up, but just
Yeah.
for y'all to keep that and know that.
How much did we used to have in surplus before we
used to
built
have
those
5 million.
parks
Well, not in surplus. We used to have 5 million in our account,
in the account?
but about 3 million of that was probably reserved years ago. But we spent 2 million on a park, 1 million on the police department, so we're down to about $1.5 million. And that's still good. I think the, for business, if you have 3 or 4 months worth of cash flow, that's great. For a town, you can look on that chart. We get 2 times a year that we have a lot of money come in, and the rest of the times we don't. So you got to account for that. 9 months of reserve, 9 months of a bill, whatever your monthly is good. We got that plus, but we don't have what we used to. So about $1.5 million is really what our reserve is, not $3 million.
So what's this $3.3 million? Is that what's in there now?
That's what was in our checkbook at the end of that, but that's not a reserve. That's not a reserve.
So we got $3 million in the bank right now.
And every
He has
month,
expenses of 3.3.
yeah,
Yeah, I understand, but right, as of June, there's $3.3 million in that bank. Okay.
and you also see in June, we had about $521,000 worth of revenue. And if you look over that, we got about $3 million in expenses and $2 million in revenue for the first 10 months.
You said you had $3 million in the bank.
$3 million of expenses for 10 months.
And your expenses is $500,000.
So-
It says $500,000. Where do you get $3 million?
Right there, read that line right there.
521.
Expenses for 10
No,
months
I'm
is
talking
$3 million.
about June. I'm not talking about June.
Well, I'm talking about the whole year.
You gotta look at the whole year. You just can't go by June.
1 month.
Why?
1 month, because that's
This is the whole year, Barry.
But this is the 1 month that I'm talking about, is what he's got on his paper. It says your expenses for that 1 month is $521,000.
If
Is
you
that
look
how you do
at-
your budget?
$3 million in your checking account.
If you look at for June, we had $1,690,000 in revenue. Look at the rest of the year. We had 80,000 come in 1 month,
You got $1 million
162.
more coming in than you spent out,
Yeah.
right?
And you also
Okay,
got
so
$1 million
what happens to
short.
that $1 million? Does that go away?
It gets gone.
It goes away. The $1 million goes away. Does it go into?
It gets gone pretty much.
Okay, I make a motion, that we adjourn. I want to hear a second.
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 Thank you.
Got it. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, do so with show of hands, whatever.